Time being 7 o'clock, I call the July 17th, 2024 meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Announcements from the chair. This evening, Councillor Hamblin is unable to attend, and Councillor Cormier Ledger, I believe, is on Zoom. So, a note to residents: all citizens are welcome to attend public meetings in person. To view the live meeting remotely, citizens are encouraged to watch the live stream on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel, or the live broadcast on Comcast Channel 9 or Verizon Channel 29. Meetings are also archived by Franklin TV on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel and shown on repeat on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29 for those who miss the live meetings. To listen to the meeting remotely, citizens may call in using this number, 1-929-205-6099. This will not permit participation in the meeting. To participate in the meeting remotely, citizens are able to join a Zoom webinar using the information provided below. The Zoom ID is 836-2420-1068 #. Once again, the Zoom webinar ID is 836-2420-1068 #. Any participants who wish to speak during the webinar must enter their full name and email address when joining the webinar. All participants will be automatically muted upon joining the webinar. In order to speak, participants who have entered full name and email address will need to select the raise hand function to request to be unmuted. All speakers will be required to state their full name and street address before commenting. Upcoming events, just a reminder, the Franklin Farmers Markets are taking place every Friday on the Town Common from 2 to 6 p.m. The Senior Center will be running a multi-generational mini golf event on July 22nd. Grandparents, children, and grandchildren are invited to enjoy a 9-hole golf course set up on site, finished with an ice cream treat. Please call the Senior Center to register for this event. I think the council needs an ice cream, so.
We might win.
Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Since there's a lot of people in council chambers, is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Please, name and address, please.
Chuck Bailey, 715 Selma Street, candidate for state representative. Good evening. Mr. Chair, excuse me. Could you please have the town administrator provide the taxpayers of Franklin with an update on the building and residence located at 835 Upper Union Street in a future meeting? A quote from an article that appeared in last week's Observer read, "The Registry of Motor Vehicles said Monday it had issued 183,825 new learner's permits and 128,079 new driver's licenses since the so-called Work and Family Mobility Act took effect last July 2023. This is very concerning, are all the new vehicles we're seeing in the parking lot at 835 Upper Union Street registered to that address? Do they pay excise tax now to the town of Franklin? Will they be able to register to vote now that they have valid Massachusetts driver's license? It's my understanding that there have been several new childbirths coming from that location since they've taken residence there. Are they exceeding occupancy levels now? Has the building been inspected in the last 2 to 3 months? Has the building zoning been changed now that it's no longer a hotel? What is it regarded as? Is it a shelter, a boarding house, or is it just rental property? Has there been any additional funding from the state to the town of Franklin to offset this loss of hotel tax? Lastly, what is the impact on the Franklin public school system? Has the state provided any additional funding or resources to support these students? Are there any expenses being imposed on the Franklin taxpayers? We're asking for some transparency, similar to the state representative in our neighboring communities. He has been doing it all along. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Jane, just name and address, please.
Jane Calloway Tripp, 607 Maple Street. Okay, so the Parmenter school land was donated to the town of Franklin by the Parmenter family in memory of their son, Gerald M. Parmenter, who attended and graduated from the Franklin school system before losing his life at war. According to the land deed, which I have, the town had 3 years to build a school on the property, or the land would revert back to the Gerald's parents and the original owners. The town met this requirement and the school was built. The deed specifies that the land is intended to be used for children. A police station does not serve this purpose unless the town is planning to incarcerate all our children, which I don't think that's going to happen. I have consulted several lawyers and I have talked to other town council members from other towns, and they have agreed that the only way to use this land for a police station is to petition the courts to alter the original deed. Why wasn't this information shared with the residents when the town council decided to use this location for a new police station? And the school committee chose to close the school. If the town plans to alter the original deed, it should be put to a vote by the residents. My only other thought is that since the deed restriction was filed in a deed in 1950, they would have to have recorded a notice of restriction again before January 1st of 1964, or to the expiration of 50 years. Has this title of the property been reviewed and or Parmenter family notices of town's decision to make this property a police station? If the title has been reviewed, will the town council share the title with the public? The town council, the town administrator, and our state rep are not Franklin. The residents are Franklin. This decision should not have been made without a vote from the residents. If you proceed without allowing residents to vote, you are not representing the people and pushing personal agendas. There is no reason not to use the downtown Davis Thayer building for a new police station. It is centrally located. It offers equal response times to all parts of town. The money that would be used to replace the Parmenter building with a new police station could be used to renovate the Davis Thayer building. There are no town minutes explaining why the Davis Thayer building is unsuitable as a police station, but according to a council member, the reasons have more to do with the police chief's preference than any practical considerations. I am going against the Parmenter family's wishes for the land, which was donated in memory of their son, a Franklin resident, a war hero. If the school must be closed, the building should be repurposed in a way that benefits the neighborhood and provides a place for our children. I do have ideas, but with a 3-minute restraint, I can't elaborate. In closing, we are the town of Franklin, and any decision to override the original deed must come to a vote by the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda?
Hi,
Name and address, please.
Kim Yu Chow, 4 Briarwood Road. So I was present at the July 8th meeting, and I wanted to thank the town council for your service and leadership during these challenging times. I don't envy the decisions that you make as a group. I appreciated the differing opinions, and although I did not agree with all the opinions, I respect that I might have a differing opinion than another individual. And I really wanted to thank Jamie for his leadership, for listening to all the comments that were made and formulating a proposal that was ultimately passed by the town council. I wanted to thank Councilor Chandler for suggesting using the rainy day fund to help bridge the gap in funding. I also wanted to thank Councilors Jones and Del Rocco for supporting the senior center nurse. Although she may only work part-time, she is an integral part of the senior center staff. And I asked, prior to that meeting, I actually went around the senior center and talked to a lot of seniors. And she was often mentioned as a positive staff member. People rely on her to change bandages and to check blood pressures. She listens to people, which supports the mental health. And she also leads a lot of special sessions in order to assist the seniors with doing 5 wishes, doing wills, etc. I wanted to note that the senior center was an area that took some of the biggest cuts recently, and I want to support maintaining the current staffing at the senior center. We have one of the most active, vibrant, welcoming senior centers in the region. And in walking around, we didn't just have Franklin residents. I went to the bocce court. We had Foxborough, we had Rentham, we had Medway. All these seniors are congregating here and socializing. And it is due all to the dedication and the drive of the current senior center staff. Last year, my neighbor lost her husband very, very suddenly. We weren't even sure that he died because one day he was there, we saw the ambulance there. We thought he went to rehab, but he actually passed away. She was alone in her house for the first time in 40 years. She started coming to the senior center and found a new community of other seniors who welcomed her with open arms and helped her with her grief process and her healing. She now comes to the senior center 5 days a week and is a part of a group of seniors that sit in the lobby area chatting and talking every afternoon. And from what I understand, they may be in the lobby area, but in the Veteran Service Officer's office, they can hear them laughing all the way down there. What a joy it is to have her really try and open up to new friends. And I also never realized how competitive this neighbor was until the Senior Olympics, where she medaled in several events. What a difference the Senior Center has made in her life. We need to maintain the current senior center staff as it is a haven and lifeline for seniors and is often the only place for seniors to gather and socialize. It shows that our town values the seniors that have spent many, many years supporting this town. The senior center is also intergenerational. Whether it's Ryan and Andrew as the tech gurus, teaching seniors how to manage the computers and phones, and they are seniors at Franklin High School.
You need to finish your thought. You're
Okay.
over the 3 minutes.
I just want to remind you that barring any major event, everybody in this room will become a senior. And wouldn't you rather go to a vibrant, welcoming senior center than a boring one that has no activities?
Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, some of us are already there.
There's only one that's not.
Wait a minute, Mark.
I can wait if you.
No, no, please come forward.
Maureen
Nate?
Sullivan, 871 King Street, also the property is at 553. I'd like to speak about King Street, but not what's on the agenda tonight. My driveway is sinking in. Mike came, he's been twice, once 4 years ago and once about a month and a half ago. It is all caused by the heavy, heavy trucks and traffic that are coming through our street. This morning, there was quite a horrific little accident out there. Luckily, I don't know how hurt the people were, but there was only one person injured that was taken in the ambulance, but it could have been significantly, significantly worse. At least every 6 months, we have a very bad accident right in front of my driveway or right in front of the pole that's always hit right across the street there. I don't know the numbers because the numbers are messed up. That's a weird thing too. It's 862 and then it's 860 and everybody's shoving houses in. And for some reason, way down the street, there's 3 houses in a row and one's on the wrong side of the street. So, King Street needs to be cleaned up a little bit, and I am not talking about that. But what happens is, when the entire street is blocked off in front of my house, or in front of the park where that pole was cut in half during the winter time, what has to happen is, everyone has to stop and either go down Forest Street, or they have to be at 495 directing people to go down Union Street and go up the other way. Where are all these trucks going to? They say 200 and some odd a day, or 300 now a day. They're adding another 400 and possibly 8 to 420 on top of that. Never mind the filtering it into a bottleneck situation. I'm so sick of saying that. But when these trucks got the green light and they come around the corner and there's no one there to tell them, don't take the corner. We've got a massive accident here and there's no way you can back up. My neighbor across the street had not 18-wheelers, but that next size down, bigger than a box truck, like a 10-wheel, whatever they're called. Backing up in his driveway because they were stuck on King Street. Now the light turns at that corner there, and people are coming down from the Woonsocket, heading down, and what do you have? You have a cluster truck. We'll call it that. Cluster of trucks. Now, are these trucks going down Forest Street? First of all, I was absolutely shocked at the people in my community that come up and down that street. There was a woman in the road pulling that off. Oh, no, because that liquor license on King Street Cafe, my 3 minutes are up.
Yes.
I'm gonna need a half an hour on that. That's gonna turn into the new Cole's Tavern. And I have other things to take up from there, but I will be back. I will do it in letter, and I will have it written in the newspaper or whatever else. I'm gonna
Thank
stay
you.
all night, because I've got a lot more to say about King Street.
Thank you, Maureen. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Mark, another familiar face.
Thank you. Mark Minichelli, 31 Longfellow Drive in Franklin. Dear Chairman Mercer and town councilors, first let me once again thank each of you for the countless hours and energy that you give to this town. I realize you don't expect total agreement on your positions on various subjects, but we should still be able to act with civility towards one another. That being said, I'm speaking tonight because I was very concerned by some of your comments made during June 26th council meeting. These sometimes emotional comments were made during the very important budget discussion during that meeting, where we, the townspeople, rely on all of you to make very important decisions on our behalf. I expect that you will use sound judgment based on the facts at hand and not allow personal feelings or opinions to obscure your judgment. I'd like to share some exact quotes of statements made during the June 26th meeting. Councilor Chandler, and one thing about mismanagement, and this has been bugging a lot of us for a while, the teachers did get $2.3 million extra in raises that the police, fire, and DPW did not get. They got nothing, and that's a lot of money. Imagine if you had that $2.3 million right now. I think that would help. We wouldn't even be talking about the firefighters and all of this, so I'm a little upset about that, end quote. Councilor Pellegri, this is such a difficult time, it's dividing the town. Tier 1, yes, I'm in favor for. But there are a few things in there that I'm not. You know, I hate to see anybody lose their job. I have to agree with my fellow councilor here when he brought up about the raises, the 4, 4, and 4. It's bothered me to this day that that happened. That was probably one of the worst things that in all of my 41 years I had to go through and listen to something like that. And most people don't even understand that. But I mean, what bothered me the most about it was the fact that the first year for 4%, and we asked, where is that money coming from? And our past superintendent, I wouldn't put this on your shoulders at all, said, I have it in my budget, I can take care of it. Well, if you have that money in your budget that you could just have taken care of it, where did it come from? It came from the kids, it came from the students, and that's when all of this started to go downhill. My personal feelings, that's when it all went down, end quote. There are obviously some old, festering wounds among some members of this council regarding school finances. This is not a healthy basis upon which to make sound decisions moving forward. You cannot deny these old, water-under-the-bridge issues are not impacting the current teachers, staff, and most importantly, students who deserve your strong support. I urge all of you, please keep your emotions in check about past issues which have nothing to do with today's challenges. They are neither helpful nor deserved and can do great harm to our community. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda?
Hi there, I'm Patty Dolan, 35 Town Line Road, and I just wanted to share with you excerpts from an email that I sent to several members of the town council, and also thank Councilor DeLurco for responding to that email. I was disappointed to hear the issue of the 4% for 3 years raises for teachers vehemently brought up at the last town council meeting as a reason for the town and/or the schools' financial issues and/or suggestions or outright statements that teachers in Franklin are overpaid. Stating or implying that police received nothing because the teacher wages used up all available funds is inflammatory and just flat wrong. This rhetoric denigrates and demoralizes our teachers and further divides our town. Our police chief, fire chief, and school superintendent all support each other, and we should support them and their departments equally. One of the reasons we have such an amazing police department is that our police are paid a competitive wage, which helps attract great candidates and build a strong force. Saying that our police received nothing this year or are not fairly compensated, it's just incorrect. My understanding is that by contract, Franklin Police are receiving an annual 2.5% raise. Is this not the case? Please clarify. While our exceptional police force is competitively compensated, our teachers are not. Franklin was well below the state average for teacher pay prior to the 4% for 3 years raises. These raises were needed and justified and are not the reason our town fiscal pie is too small. Following these raises, our teachers are now around average in terms of compensation around the state, perhaps still a little below. These 4% raises come following years of raises below 2.5%. Since 1999, 64% of our yearly increases were less than 2.5%. This includes years with 0% or 0.5% increases. Over this duration, the average increase was 2.23%. Without this 3-year 4% raise, the average drops to 2.02%. Did the 4% raises improve the town budget situation? No, they certainly didn't. But were these raises the primary driver of the town's financial problems? Again, no. The pie is just not big enough. Sadly, Franklin's no longer a place that attracts teachers. Would you teach in Franklin, given our recent history of cutting teachers, staff, and educational programs? Not to mention the anti-teacher sentiment that has been stirred up in this town of late? I sure wouldn't. Please help our town heal and come together and support all departments and employees, including our teachers. Stop the myth that teachers are overpaid and the cause of fiscal instability in Franklin. Please help reinforce the message that the pie is just not big enough. Not because our schools are such a drain on resources, and yes, the schools are the largest part of the budget, but because our tax revenue has not kept pace with the increases in costs across the board. And please consider implementing a fixed objective allocation of revenue to the schools. This will go such a long way to garnering support for an override, but most importantly, for helping provide more certainty and predictability in budgeting going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Please, name and address.
Hi, Sarah Amaral, and I'm the Senior Senate Director. Kim covered a lot already, but I just wanted to also say thank you for your hard work and dedication during the budget season, and especially for keeping our current staff the way that it is. And I just wanted to mention, as Jamie had stated, with the cuts that we received will now be 1/3 self-sustaining, with a goal to become 50% self-sustaining, and I'm a numbers girl. So I know that we can get there, but it just isn't going to be possible if we don't keep our current staff. And then in the midst of the budget crisis, a lot of people called the senior center a luxury, so even though I don't think those were things that people might believe here, while the public's watching, I just wanted to mention some things that the senior center does, because I took that as the community might not be educated to some of the programs we offer. And some of those include an affordable meal that ranges from $1 to $5, $3 fitness classes that are catered to seniors' abilities, a social supportive day program that offers a stimulating environment for elders with mild to moderate dementia, and much needed respite for their caregivers. Free legal aid, a bereavement support group, the tax workout program, free blood pressure and blood sugar screenings, a thriving solo support group that provides community to seniors who live alone with no family nearby, the Memory Cafe, the Rainbow Cafe providing a safe space for LGBTQ seniors, the Low Vision Support Group, an Alzheimer's Caretaker Support Group, free hearing screenings, and social services for every resident of Franklin, not just seniors. We see about 200 people a day. We served over 17,000 meals and received over $200,000 in grant funding. So I just continue to thank you for your support and wanted to share some of what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Is there anybody in council, anybody else in council chambers other than Councilor Jones that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda?
Can I get a less beeper?
Okay, seeing none, is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? I don't see anybody. Amy, do you? Okay, we will move on. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from June 26th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, additions, deletions. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by roll call vote. That's right. Everything tonight will be a roll call vote because Councilor Cormier Ledger is participating remotely. So clerk will call the roll.
Yes, sir. I'll do Ted first. Cormier Ledger.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
Angelo.
Yes.
Pellegrini.
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
8, 1 absence.
Motion carries. Okay, moving on, proclamations, recognitions, we have none this evening, no appointments, no public hearings, no licensed transactions. We do have a presentation and discussion, but I'm going to hold that for a moment because in fairness to, I know there's a large contingent from King Street here this evening, and I know our meeting in June was rather lengthy. So with the council's indulgence, I'm going to push that item up on the agenda and address that now. Everybody okay with that?
I'm fine.
Okay, so legislation for action. Are they? Okay. So, this will be legislation for action, item B, zoning bylaw amendment 24-905, zoning map changes from single-family residential 3 to business, an area on or near King Street, and this is the second reading. So clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 24-905, zoning map changes from single-family residential 3 to business and area on or near King Street, a zoning bylaw amendment to the Code of the Town of Franklin, at Chapter 185, Section 5 zoning map. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that the Code of the Town of Franklin is hereby amended by making the following amendments to subsection 185-5 zoning map, that the zoning map of the Town of Franklin be amended by changing from single-family residential 3 to business, an area containing 1.32 plus or minus acres, comprising the following parcels of land as shown on the Town of Franklin's assessors map, parcel numbers 313-061-000, 313-062-000, and the area to be rezoned is shown to be attached on the map. Proposed zoning map changes, an area on or near King Street. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 24-905.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion, and before I go to you, Jamie, I just want to explain so that everybody understands how the zoning bylaw legislation works. The first reading, which was a month ago in June, to move it from a first reading to a second reading requires a simple majority vote of councilors that are present. So it doesn't have to be 5, it could be 4-3 or something like that. As far as the second reading, in order to make it a piece of legislation, it has to pass by a 2/3 majority vote of the entire council, whether the entire council is present or not. So a piece of zoning regulation requires 6 affirmative votes in order to pass. Just want to make sure that everybody understood how that works. Jamie.
Fantastic job, Mr. Chairman. I don't have anything else to add. I think everyone knows where this is at. I just wanted to clarify that same point, because I'm sure a lot of folks, with the absence of one member, because one's on Zoom, the supermajority still prevails. It still required 6 votes. So
Right.
Thank you very much. There's nothing else I need to add.
Attorney Searle?
That's by state statute, and I just want to reference, so there isn't confusion, at a later date, the legislature has enacted exemptions to that for multifamily housing, which only requires a majority, which will be before you, and has been before.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mark. Joe, anything you'd like to add? I mean, we had a lot of discussion at our last meeting from the council, from the audience, from yourself, so if there's something you'd like to add?
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. My name's Joe Evans, just for everybody that wasn't here before. Joe Evans, I've lived in Franklin my entire life, resident 5 Tamashanto Road. I do want to touch on a few things, and I want to approach this a little bit differently. I'm not here to go over the pros and cons of a change to business use at this site, but I'd like to bring to the board's attention what I believe are very important things to recognize as it relates to this and the bigger picture of the town going forward, and what we would like to try to do and move forward in a positive direction here. a reminder that this is a zoning change proposal brought by the town. I think there's been a lot of misinformation about that. Yes, I approached the town, but the town is the one who initiated this proposal, not necessarily myself. I am a party to what, I do own one of the properties over there, so I am a party to it. This was voted on unanimously by the Economic Development Committee, which is made up of members of this council. The Master Plan Committee, I think it's really important to note, I've been trying to pay attention the best I can to a lot of these committees that are formed, the Master Plan Committee, the Davis-Thayer Committee, and whatnot. And the Master Plan Committee has been having numerous discussions, and I think everybody up here could agree with me that a mixed-use, convenience-oriented developments, they want to actively implement those types of uses and zoning initiatives into neighborhoods. And the current neighborhood makeup at 634 and 648 King Street is made up currently of industrial, office, warehouse, educational, assisted living, single-family residential, yet it's missing, in my opinion, a critical component of retail and service aspect. So traditionally, New England character, New England towns have all those components that make up their neighborhoods and their sub-neighborhoods. So what better location to implement one of those goals of the Master Plan Committee than 634 and 638 King Street, on the outskirts of a neighborhood next to the highway. One other thing I want to briefly speak about tonight, which I think is relevant, is there's a committee that makes up the Davis-Thayer Reuse, Committee. Davis-Thayer School is zoned residential 4, which is almost identical zoning to 634, 648 King Street, residential 3. The town owns that Davis-Thayer property, and there's a committee that has been formed to discuss the redevelopment of that property. The uses being recommended by members of that committee that make up that board are talking mixed use and commercial. Restaurants are being discussed. Retail is being discussed. That will require a vote by this board on a zone change identical to the one before you now at 634 and 648 King Street. So how can a rezone to allow business use be okay in a residential area of downtown Franklin, yet not be okay for a very busy area next to the interchange of 495? So I think that answer is going to have to be answered in some way. And with all that being said, I want to just let the council know that we extended outreach to the King Street neighbors in the last several weeks. The unofficial, I guess, representative we spoke to, my partner Dusty Burke spoke to him at length and attempted to offer some type of a compromise here. And what we offered to do, because we knew how objectionable a gas station, the potential of a gas station obtaining a special permit here in the future would be to the neighbors and to the neighborhood, and that nobody wanted that for the most part. So we recognized that, and what we did was we said we would remove any possibility of a gas station being developed on this parcel, and we would do that by whatever legal mechanism was available, whether it be a deed restriction or whatnot, so there was no worry in the future that this property got sold and redeveloped into a gas station. The neighbor responded eventually to us and essentially said that the neighbors do not want any business use. So they were not happy with that offer. But they did say that they would be enthusiastic about a multifamily use. So again, I would like to move forward in a positive direction and attempt to gain support of the neighbors opposed to business by starting the conversation about moving either to a multifamily zoning or a mixed-use zoning as a compromise. Doing nothing here is really not an option. A single-family house is not really, it's really not economically feasible to build a single-family house here with construction costs. Some of you probably know that price per square foot to build a small, modest home is very expensive, and to get that return back even would be very difficult here. So we'd like to start that conversation, if the board would entertain that, to do either some type of a condo, mixed-use, multifamily project or a zoning that would allow for that type of use. And hopefully the neighbors could be agreeable to that. Other than that, like I said, we did offer to take away the gas station use, if that is something that the counselors that were opposed to this could get behind. So with that being said, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if there can be some discussion about that, or whether or not how this could move forward at this point.
There really can't be, because we do have a specific item on the agenda, a specific piece of legislation, which we have to move forward with. Now, down the road, if something else comes back, something else comes back. We can't control that, that's up to you. But what we have to deal with is the piece of legislation that's
Understood.
before us tonight. So where this is a piece of legislation, I'm going to go to the council first. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, this is to the public and the council as a whole. As the clerk, I have to do my due diligence. We're talking about zoning here. Everything and anything that any of the public or Mr. Evans himself has been discussing in regards to potential uses is irrelevant. We are talking about changing the zoning from one existing zone to a different zone, and whatever that zone is allowed to do with rights and special permits is what it can be developed to. Now, this particular zone is currently, for any potential for it to be a gas station, business zone, it would need a special permit from the planning board. In particular, one of the things that I've taken considerable note of is the amount of response I've received from the public. And for all intents and purposes, it's negative. And yes, as the chair of the master plan, I agree with you in many aspects that there are specific areas within the town that we need to consider in regards to development, specifically today and in the future. But we also have to take into consideration what the citizens feel, whether they be it today, tomorrow, 30 years from now, when we talk about potentially implementing these portions of the master plan. So my opinion on rezoning this to business has changed, and I oppose putting it into a business.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Frangillo? Please let us get through the councilors, please. Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, this has been quite a robust conversation and a lengthy one, and appreciate all of the input. I wish we could get this enthusiasm for so many agenda items that don't get the same attention. Okay, we've had a conversation, and we've deemed as a town that at this point this is not the right place for such a zone. Great, and thanks to all those who participated in that conversation. And we need to have a serious conversation about where are the places to grow. We can't say no to new taxes, no to new growth, and expect to be able to afford the same services that we all enjoy. As mentioned, we're having a lot of these conversations in the master plan, and recommend and encourage anyone to participate in those conversations. It's very, very easy to be aware of and alert to the projects next door to you that you don't like. It's much harder, but I would argue more important, to identify the types of projects that do support our tax base in a way that also improves the quality of life for Franklin residents. I have many thoughts on this, and we'll continue to speak on them. We even have some opportunities in front of us later this agenda to support positive incremental growth in places that it makes sense. So oppose the proposal at hand with some expectation that's the same enthusiasm comes to support positive areas for development in Franklin.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Sheridan?
Yeah, I continue to oppose this proposal, and I would point out the two differences between Davis Thayer and the other mixed use that's gonna be talked about later. I live in that neighborhood, and those places already have a lot of traffic. Davis Thayer's been a school for 100 years. There's already traffic every morning, every afternoon. Plus, it's located in a retail area already, even though it's technically zoned for residential, it's in the retail area. And I say that somebody lives in the neighborhood who would not oppose either ones of those two proposals. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Councilor Chandler?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. When we were talking about this earlier, I was very involved in trying to get tax revenue after the override failed. And I give Mr. Evans a little credit for taking away the gas station, because the neighbors, there's no way they wanted it. No way they wanted it. But the thing right now that concerns me the most is I voted against the Grove Street apartments, 350 apartments. I voted against Stobart's 300. And I can't have any more apartment buildings right there, anywhere right now. This town has turned into Franklinham, and we're just not gonna, we can't put up with this anymore. And, so, at this point tonight, I'm gonna have to speak against it on that basis first.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Pellegrini?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with everything that is being said by my fellow councilors. Me and my pros and cons list, I could not put anything in the pros list, but there was many things in con. You came tonight about the gas station. It was a little too late to come to say you weren't gonna do a gas station. Because that was something that the residents in that certainly did not want. But multifamily use, I don't know about that either, because we have so many apartments, condos, and everything being built that we've got to stop it sometime. I mean, we're talking about closing some of the schools, and what does that mean? We're gonna have to all of a sudden stop building new schools with all of these people coming into town? I don't know, I've got a lot of questions on that side, and I don't think that this can be compared to the Davis Thayer property at all. So again, I will be voting no on this.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor DeLorco?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've been against this from the beginning, but, you know, I feel, you know, I felt bad for the planning board. They voted 6-0 on it, and it was like, it wasn't even like 3-2 or 4-1 where we could come in and, I mean, they did it twice, so I'm kind of glad that we're turning the corner on this. But, I mean, I have to definitely agree with Councilor Chandler as far as turning into Franklinham, or whatever he says over there. I mean, the apartments are going crazy. I mean, but the residents with those signs, I mean, that's King Street. But I saw signs on Pond Street, Lincoln Street, so the residents are getting, I think they're getting the idea that they're speaking up against stuff like this. And there's one on Pond Street, Oak Street, they're all over the place. I mean, it's not even in their backyard, but they're taking note, which is excellent to see. So, you know, obviously I'll be speaking again, I mean, I'll be voting no against this too, so.
Thank you, Councilor DeLorco. I guess I'm the only one that hasn't spoken yet.
Ted.
Oh, Ted.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ted. Please. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
You look so comfortable.
You look comfortable
hear
over
me
there in
okay?
Rome.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Greetings from beautiful Italy. It's now, I think, 2 o'clock in the morning here, but I did want to call in on this important topic. Obviously, I spoke against it at the first meeting. I've responded to a lot of emails and met with a lot of people on this topic who are against it. Thank you for the people that have followed up since our last meeting with additional questions and comments and emails. I just felt strongly that I needed to call in tonight specifically for this issue, to voice my no vote, and to show those folks that I was listening. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ted. Okay, now I'll take my turn, and I agree with what Councilor Jones and Councilor Frangillo said earlier. The master plan is looking at these areas. We need commercial growth in the community. If not here, where? And I understand the issues with this site, and I've spoken to every counselor multiple times about this site and the concerns of the residents, and certainly the residents did a wonderful job of having their voices heard. Coming to us, writing us emails, we do listen. I know sometimes it doesn't seem like we do, but we do listen. But we also have to remember that when we look at all of these things, we have to look at it, what is in the betterment of the entire community? 34,000 people, not just 200 that are surrounded a particular area, whether it's this spot or another area, it doesn't matter. There has to be places where we can grow commercial growth and business growth within the community. And that's part of the master plan's challenge. I know that Councilor Jones, Councilor Frangillo are working hard on the master plan to try and identify these particular spots, whether they be on the outskirts of residential neighborhoods or so forth. In this particular case, I think you've heard from all of the council, and I will also say that I will be voting not in favor of this for a multitude of reasons, not the least of which is we heard from the residents and a lot of the residents, but I want the residents also to hear us. I know doesn't appear like it's gonna pass here. But there has to be places in town where this can happen and where it can happen safely. Otherwise, we're in such a budget crisis over the next 2 to 3 years. I'll tell you, sitting in the seat that we're sitting in, it's scary where we are and where we get a bigger pie. Because right now the pie's this big and we need this big. And we've been able to count on new growth over the last 15 or 20 years. New growth is gone. Very little new growth. You know, there were, 3 houses built in Franklin and 5 and single-family homes in the last year. 5, that's it. So the new growth numbers aren't there. So where else can it be? Where else can you increase that pie? And the only areas you can increase it are looking at additional business and commercial growth or override. Those are the only 2 options we have at this juncture
At this time.
to increase the pie. So I'm off my soapbox. So I think, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak, understand, I think you've heard from the council. I think you know where this is going. And I know a lot of people spoke at, on the 26th. So I guess I would just ask, I'm certainly not going to not allow somebody that wants to speak. I will allow you to. But I think you have a gist of where this is going. Please come forward, name and address.
I I see where it's going, and it's going exactly where it should be. But I would like to say, this situation, sir, you said that it was other people that came to you and said, let's get this ball rolling. They came to you and suggested to you to do this? Sir, you tear down absolutely everything. Did you tear down this Piccadilly pub on this? Or was that a no-go too? Why are you doing that? Aren't you Joe Evans that was gonna tear down
Please
Piccadilly pub?
address your comments to the
Okay,
council.
he was also gonna come and tear down my property too. And I just heard, speaking with all these King Street people in the last month, that the town administrator already said that he could put one of these mini malls like he did over in Rentham at my 4-acre piece of industrial commercial property at the corner of King and Washington Street, and he said that you already okayed it and that would go through. That was back when you sent me the purchase and sales, but I do have a few offers to purchase from you too. Do you remember when Seinfeld
Maureen,
had the
Maureen,
coffee table
no.
book?
I'd love
I'm
to
gonna do
address
a
it.
wallpaper book with all his stuff.
If I can address her, I'd love to.
Go ahead.
God, respond.
Her property.
Through me,
Sure,
please.
Mr. Chairman. I think what she's referring to is a property that I'm involved in with other partners in the city of Worcester, the Piccadilly Plaza. So I don't know what that has,
Oh, yeah.
relevance that has to this.
The only relevance was that it said you're gonna tear the building down.
Well,
You
I-
wanted to tear down the Nathan.
All right, I'm not gonna let a
Metcalf
back and
homestead?
forth go here.
Okay, so, I just wanted,
Uh,
sorry. I'm sorry, I thought that I could talk.
And
Joe, are you done?
to her second, I forget her last name, but
Sullivan.
she owns an industrial parcel of land at the corner of Washington Street and King Street,
Yeah,
industrial zone.
All right, I'm gonna get
And
everybody
she-
back on track
And she
here.
has it for
We're-
sale, and we put an offer in on the property.
Okay.
Simple.
That's it.
We're speaking about a piece of legislation, and I would like you to keep your comments to
King.
just that piece of legislation. Now, sir, if you'd like to, just name and address.
Thank you. My name is Dave Pizzelli, 37 Forest Street, and I thought it would be important, I realize where we're all at here,
Yeah.
right? But I thought it would at least acknowledge that 925 people in South Franklin and other parts of town don't think that anything should go there. They could read our points. Number one was the firehouse and the safety of the citizens. So they agreed, and that was with just maybe 5 people trying to get the word out. I'm exhausted because I really saw it as a safety concern to people. So I thank you for seeing that, because I realize that you all did as well. I think that we're in a bad place here because of, and Mr. Evans, I don't know, I can see why Maureen's a little upset, okay? But I know, and I've heard Mr. Evans in previous meetings say that he was given the thumbs up by 3 people. It's on video. So he does say that. And that's, I think, what led her to this. In any case, I think to have a more transparent process moving forward, I think the days of notifying people 100 yards this way, that way, and the other way just don't work. And today with
That's Mass General laws.
yeah, I know that, but it also should be, I'd invite you to consider an option where people could just click on the website, the town site, and sign up to get notifications for everything. And that would bring you the involvement of the community you seek, because it's good. You get input from very smart people that live in the city. Very smart people, different values, different insights, very smart people living here. He posts on Facebook and says that the prisoners are running yeah, it's crazy. I question his integrity, sorry. It's all on video.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Who do I
Please.
That's all right. Get someone else to carry it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're hired.
Folks, understand, we've tried to get legislation through the State House to put notices electronically, but we can't get it through the State House to allow it. You can't. Okay.
Can you speak to what opportunities are available to subscribe to meetings?
Sure,
and
Jamie,
Some of the
go
meetings
ahead.
that led to
Through
this?
you,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, so the gentleman's recommendation we've been doing for 7 years. here.
Yeah.
So if you go onto the town website and right on the homepage, franklinma.gov, there's a connect button at the bottom. By the way, we're redoing the website right now, and it'll be done later this year. But there's a button where you can sign up for email subscription lists, and there's a legal notices subscription list, and you can get all of the legal notices straight to your inbox. We've been doing this for probably 6, 7, 8 years,
Yeah.
since I got here in 2016. It's free of charge. There's no cost for it, and that's exactly how people engage. You can also sign up for the town council agendas. You can sign up for almost so much information. You almost will then unsubscribe from something because you get so many email notifications that, but it's a really good service. It's free. It's right there. Folks can go online and they can see all the legal notices.
That's excellent. Thank you, Jamie.
Okay,
I wish I got a postcard on the mail.
okay. Please, name and address.
Hi, my name is Sally Grant, and I'm at 660 King Street. Thank you very much. I'll just be very brief. I did have a long thing. And because I did, I want to hand it around because I'm just so much better. But I do want to clarify a couple things just real quick. We don't have a representative. We each speak for ourselves. The other areas spoken to, I have the infrastructure in place, and what I was going to speak to tonight is regarding the infrastructure. And the only reason I really still want you to have it is I'm not I'm not anti-development. I do recognize that. The development that's happening on Grove Street, the infrastructure that's happening there is fantastic. That impacts me. But I understand that that's an area that has been identified as an area that has been identified by the master plan for planned growth. I do disagree with the statement that says this is just a zoning decision and use doesn't matter. The planning board disagrees with that as well. Use consideration does matter because you have to consider these infrastructure concerns that I have in front of you. You have to consider rezoning it. What's it going to do to the water table, to the, are there wetlands around there? Why would you rezone something commercial if there's wetlands around there? I mean, so understanding the property and understanding the potential use, meaning commercial, is important in making these decisions. You are here to do careful, thoughtful planning, and I appreciate that you have listened, and I appreciate that that's where you've come to, and if I can help in any way on the master plan, I'd be happy to. But anyways, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, please.
Don't worry.
Name and address.
Yeah, Ian Duff, 680 King Street. It won't burn much of your time here. I appreciate the council. I wanted to thank everyone. I want to thank Ted for, coming in off vacation. That's wild. And just appreciate you all listening, hearing us out, having open minds, thinking about this constructively, and doing so at a time when there was the budget crisis, the override, the master plan recalibration, everything else that went into it, right? I mean, I think it's a credit to our town and to the work that you do. So as much as there's a lot of vitriol about these things, we appreciate the work and the openness. So thank you for landing where you did.
Thank you. Thank you, Ian. We haven't voted yet. Rick, please, name and address.
Hi, Rick Chestercombe, 627 King Street. I want to thank the councilors for listening to all my concerns and my emails, and I appreciate everything you did, and I thank you for supporting the residents and myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else that really would like to speak that hasn't? Because I certainly don't want to prevent that. Okay, with that. Oh, Zoom. Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak on this? I don't see any hands, do you?
No.
Okay. The vote will come on the motion to approve zoning bylaw amendment 24-905. A 2/3 majority, roll call votes required. Clerk will call the roll.
Sheridan.
No.
Cormier Ledger.
No.
Frangillo.
No.
Chandler.
No.
Pellegri.
No.
Jones, no. Vice Chair.
No.
Chair.
No.
8, 1 absence, or 8 noes, 1 absence.
Motion fails. We're going to take a 3-minute recess here, just so
Thank you, Mr.
everybody
Chair.
take a breath. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Recording stopped. You're listening to 102.9 WFPRLP, Franklin Public Radio.
Recording in progress.
I bring the July 17th meeting of the Franklin Town Council back to order. And we will go back to presentations and discussions, override discussion and FY25 budget adjustment on number 2. Jamie, you want to?
Sure. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. So really quickly, the memo is pretty straightforward. If folks haven't seen it, just go onto the website, go to the town calendar, go to this agenda item. I spell it out there for everybody. So there's 2 issues tonight. One is the vote on the transfer of the rainy day fund to the school budget. If that is approved tonight, that'll give the school increase this year $5.48 million, which is just a hair below double the highest amount Franklin Public Schools has ever gotten in account 300 in history. So that's a huge achievement for this community and this council and everybody else that's been a strong advocate. The second piece is, as you said, Mr. Chairman, many folks have certainly asked, I think, and advocated for various responses to this. When would the next override be? Would the town consider one again? And a lot of people have asked for November. I just put in the memo just to state for the public so everybody's clear, if that were to be entertained by the community, we would need to hold a special meeting in the next 3 weeks by August 7th. Did I mention the right date?
So August 7th, the state needs it in their hands,
Right.
so July 31st, the latest.
So you're looking at August 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th. You'd have to have a special meeting to vote on putting that question on. I'm just giving the facts.
Okay, but that's so close.
I'm just giving the facts. I'm just giving the facts. I'm just giving the fact. Let's just stick to the facts. So we just need that short window because you need a 90-day window for a federal election. And then down below in that memo, I also outline just looking out into FY26. I know both Bob and Jonna are both here from the school district tonight to answer any questions about school finance that folks may have. But I just need to make sure the community is well aware of after tonight's vote on the rainy day fund. With the rainy day fund transfer going into FY26, the town structurally will be in deficit $3.042 million. And anything above and beyond that would have to be discussed, obviously, between the schools and the town council as to what, if there's more money that people want, what is that and why. But just going in there, the bare minimum, if an override were ever be considered again, the bare minimum, just to have level service next year, you need to make up $3.042 million in some, could use other one-day time revenues or an override. But really, that's all that's in the memo. I just outline in there a couple of very important points that, again, I've said many, many times, and I'm probably going to say them 100 more times. That budget model I just discussed does not include the borrowing for the Remington Jefferson and Horace Mann renovation projects. It does not include collective bargaining for the teachers, police patrol, police sergeants, fire, custodians, DPW, library, trades, and maintenance unions. We have not started collective bargaining yet, neither the schools nor us have. We wouldn't normally by this point anyways. That would happen later this fall or early next year. And 3, the numbers that I just gave you do not reflect any hard numbers from the redistricting analysis from the schools, which I don't believe they're ready to get into yet. Bob's shaking his head no. And Jonna also shaking her head no. And then also the final one that's not on here is healthcare. I've mentioned it before. But you know, we have some very serious structural cost issues. So I'm trying to draw that out because if we're talking about teacher retention, which we all agree is a problem, we're talking about all these other issues, we then need to make investments in those areas just to maintain what we have. This isn't sustainability coordinators. We're not talking about road infrastructure. We're not talking about sidewalk maintenance plan. We're not talking about additional roads money. We're not talking about complete streets. We're not talking about parks. You know, we're not talking about all the other stuff that gets discussed often that we want. Those 4 elements right there are going to be challenges for both the schools and the town going into this fall as we try to draft out a budget model looking into FY26. So happy to answer any questions that any folks have, Mr. Chairman, and that's the summary for this point.
Thank you, Jamie. Before I go to the council, I have had quite a few conversations with chairman of the school committee in regards to moving forward. How do we move forward? How do we move forward together? How do we work together as a community to make sure we deal with the best way possible, deal with the issues at hand? So before I go to the council, I'd like the chairman of the school committee just to come forward. Dave, if you wouldn't mind, and just kind of give the council kind of an update as to our, yeah, that's fine. As to some of our conversations and as to what we think the direction we should be headed.
All right. Yeah, I think I appreciate it. Appreciate everything that's been done. As Chairman Mercer, as you mentioned, it was just the day after the failed override. You kind of called me to say, what can we do, and how can we help the children? Because that's really the end of the day. That's who's facing the impact of the failed override. Town administrator, as you stated, right out of the gate, when we look at FY 25-26, we're already $3 million in the hole. And, sure, there's an opportunity to kind of just drain the stabilization fund, as has been done in the past, but that's all that's going to do is just kick the can down the road to FY 27. In that $3 million hole, that's a best case scenario that inflation kind of remains within a 2.5% model. And so you're really going to be looking at a much higher hole that we're going to have to dig ourselves out of just to keep level service. And I think that's one of the biggest problems, at least that we're seeing on the school right now. The failed override, there's a desperate need for an override. And it's been talked for well over a decade. When Jeff Nutting was in that position, he was talking about it and writing about it year over year over year. And failed override didn't make that go away. It didn't solve any of the problems. Whether or not we have an override tomorrow, or in November, or in springtime, we've already failed our kids. When they come to the school in September, they're going to be coming in classrooms significantly higher. They've already had music and art programs that have been cut. We've had hundreds of high schoolers that have had to come in over the summer to redo their schedules because Franklin can no longer afford some of the AP and honors classes that we provided. Families have had to pay $500 per kid to ride the bus. And if their kid wants to play football, that's an extra $1,000 per season. And all of that, I want to say, is after the historic increase in the allocation. And it is predicated on the $1 million that hopefully we'll kind of see in a moment. But that's all of that that's just, when we kind of talk about level service, this level service has been just chipped away at year after year after year. And in so many other communities that have been growing and expanding, Franklin has continued in their education to continue to shrink, just to be able to kind of match where the budget's at. Because we kind of heard from my colleagues on the council today, we keep hearing about the lack of new growth. There are no homes being built with interest rates the way that they are. There was a big expansion of home construction, especially expansions, additions during the time of COVID when interest rates were nominal. That is gone, and it's just a continual lack of an appetite to bring in additional growth in be it apartments or commercial areas. And I'm not here to kind of step out of my lane and say one way or the other what's right, but just the facts on the ground. There's just not enough money coming in to support all the amazing systems that we have in place. And I think because of that, what's going to be incredibly vital, what I would very strongly recommend, and I'm kind of just not as the chairman of the school, but just as the dad of two kids in the school system. That's kind of what started me on this journey here and what's kind of keeping me moving forward, would be to start by reconvening the joint budget subcommittee made up of the town council, the school committee, FinCom. Have an honest, open conversation about all of the budget crisis that we're in and really take a hard look at the cuts that would have to be made coming down the pipeline. I know you guys, and I appreciate, showcasing some of those 4 tiers of cuts, some cuts that would have to kind of be, that could be looked at. But I think, I don't think I'm really kind of going out on a limb here to say that there's many more cuts that would have to come. And it would kind of be coming on every single department because we can't balance our budget on the backs of our children. And by starting at the joint budget, we can kind of have those conversations so everybody every single stakeholder across this community can kind of take a look and see what exactly is on the line and what's going to happen if we don't have an override, specifically a successful override. During some of those meetings, we can also go talk about a number openly in a public meeting, draft an MOU. All of that can kind of then go back out to those 3 boards, to the FinCom, to the Town Council, and the school committee as a whole, where every single member of the committee can kind of go and take a look at all of at the numbers, about the situation, about the MOU, and have public engagement during each of those meetings. And then Chairman Mercer, if you'd be willing to kind of bring all of us back together, maybe at the high school, where we can then, after everybody has put eyes on all the documents, can go through, make revisions and edits, and have an open and discussion and debate where we talk about where exactly our priorities are at and what's going to be important to kind of then go and vote on a specific number along with an MOU. And then with, Nancy, I promise plenty of time, where a ballot question can kind of be drafted that's maybe more in line with, for instance, Braintree, that just had a very successful one just a couple of weeks ago, where the ballot question itself, the way it was specifically worded, had a very explicit dollar amount that was tied to each line item. And so, for instance, with our past, if we kind of just had what we had before, like the Braintree model, they would kind of go and say $6.3 million to the schools, $500,000 to facilities, but make it so in the ballot question itself, it's incredibly explicit. So even if an individual shows up for the very first time at the ballot box without any other background knowledge, when they're looking at the question, they know exactly where their tax dollars are going to go to. And there's no question or concern that if they're opening up their wallets to go to the schools, to go to the library, to go to the senior center, to go to the roads, they know exactly that's where every single one of their dollars is going to go to. So,
Thank you, Dave. And as Dave alluded to, and I'm just going to take a couple of minutes here just to kind of bring everybody up to speed. Dave, you can stay right there if you want. Nice try. I just, right as Dave alluded to, right after the failed override, I called Dave the next day and we started our conversations. And the reason that, and everything that Dave just said is conversations that he and I have had over the last month, talking about how we move forward, where we move forward, what the direction is, what the process would be. And that's why I put this on the agenda tonight, because there was a contingent within the community that really wanted to see an override question come back in November. And I just want to make it clear to everybody, and Dave and I have talked about this multiple times, is whether we do an override in November or in the spring of next year, early spring, late spring next year, the money's available at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it really doesn't matter. And one of my concerns, and probably one of my bigger concerns, was with November, was because of it being a national election and the requirement that we have as to publicly putting the information out and getting the information out, we'd have to do it in the next 2 weeks. And there was a strong contingent of residents that voted no because they felt it was rushed. We'd be doing the same damn thing.
No, no, sir.
Excuse me. There was a contingent, because I heard from them, and so did other councilors, that didn't because they felt it was rushed. This way, it's an opportunity for us to start the process within your town elected bodies, being the school committee, the town council, starting, and the FinCom, which is not elected, but excuse me, but are the a finance piece of the community. So those three boards, we have the joint budget subcommittee, and that's the perfect place to start the conversation as to whether we have an override, another option, or another ballot question, how much is the ballot question, and when it happens. That's where it needs to start, with those subcommittees of those three bodies. From there, I see, as Dave alluded to, and again, these were conversations that he and I had, it would then take it back to the three boards, being the council for public discussion, school committee for public discussion, finance committee for public discussion, and then bringing the three bodies together again to actually discuss and come up with, do we have an override? How much is the override? And when do we have it? So that's kind of where we are now. The reason for tonight's agenda item was, in fact, if there was enough feeling from the council to try and get something on the November election, we need to do it now. And we need to be moving now. And that's why this item is on tonight's agenda. So I've taken up enough time. I'll go to the councilors now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a difficult one. Mainly because of the deficit that we're already in. That's what I hear is the number, $3 million in the hole already. But I don't find it prudent to push the issue this quickly. I think there needs to be some thorough discussion, since we do actually have some time. It has no effect whether we were to pass an override in November or were to pass an override in March. The monies would still be, coming up at the same time and being distributed at the same time next year. But I think allowing us to put forth, after thorough discussion from, as the chairman so eloquently put it, through various subcommittees, a thorough discussion on what that number should be. My suggestion, and I think this is to the public at large, is, since an override question actually has to be proposed through the public, because this is a public request to the council, I would like to request individuals in the audience or out in TV land who are listening, to take the leadership of the groups that were for it, and take some leadership of the groups that were against it, and make a combined group. Maybe you can call it the Yes No's, which is yes and no, subcommittee that comes together and says, okay, what was it about the no side of things that they didn't like it? What was it about the yes side of things that they did like it? And kind of collectively come together as a public group to help fashion and help work with us here in the community, here at the council level, to fashion a question, and to fashion it in such a way that A, it meets our financial needs, but B, is worded, as Dave put it, in such a way that the people are clear as to what exactly they're going to be voting on when the time comes to vote on it. And that's ultimately going to come from the request of the public. It's not us that actually, it's not the administration that actually makes that proposal, it's the public. So I'm asking anyone out there who's listening,
who's willing to step up to the plate and kind of take a co-leadership role with the individuals who are both yes and no's to come together and kind of hash out what's going to work here and come back to us. We want to hear your feedback. We really, really want to hear what you have to say. So, that's my 2 cents, Mr.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Frangillo?
We need to grow the pie. We needed to. We can't afford the services that we all enjoy. When that is, I'll trust you with. I think the longer conversation, if the money can't hit earlier, the longer conversation, that makes sense to me. The thing I care most about is how we as a town, leadership, council, administration, do in communicating the state of the budget and likely state of the budget given future scenarios. I think regardless of whether the override failed or not, we failed to clearly communicate the needs of the town and the path, financial path that got us there. We're giving ourselves more time. Let's not make the same mistakes. Let's be clear. Let's be unified where possible. Let's work proactively as much as possible. Let's be clear in our communications to the town. Let's be clear in our understanding of our own history and how we got to the current financial situation, as well as clear about the needs and the possible impacts of an override or not an override. That's what interests me more. Supportive of putting it back on the ballot, what that actually looks like, look forward to those conversations, and supportive if we feel that it's best for that to be in spring.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Sheridan?
Yeah, I was all set to support it for November, but after listening to Chairman Callahan talking to some Run Franklin people, I think it's a good idea to put it back a little later, and then maybe. So we started this discussion early last year, so this will be going on a year and a half, and that should be enough time, or nobody said there's not enough time. And I just want to emphasize how bad this is for our children. Today I took my daughter to Stonehill. The things what they said to get into college is extracurricular activity, sports, AP classes. And that's, so we're not just affecting the kids now by cutting their programs, making the class sizes bigger, we're hurting their future. And I agree with the speaker earlier, nobody's gonna wanna teach in Franklin as long as this continues. And teachers are gonna leave. And young families aren't gonna wanna live here. I mean, I think a lot of young families will look someplace else where our town supports their schools. That's it.
Thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Councilor Cormier Ledger, you still awake over there?
He's sleeping.
Sure am, Mr. Chairman.
Go to bed.
No, what are you doing?
I know. If I don't, I'm probably going to be solo on this vacation pretty soon. But that's okay. I'll be signing off pretty soon. But the override discussion and making sure that the $1 million that we promised gets voted on and sent over to the schools is important. I hear what everybody's saying. And I truly hear from a lot of people on the no side and the yes side, and I agree with the comments that we have to try to find a compromise. I think there are people, unfortunately, that were going to vote no matter what. They just were adamantly against any sort of tax increase. I don't think the amount or where it was going was the issue. However, I think we need to do a better job of communicating all of the needs, not just putting this entire burden on the schools, because next year, as Jamie laid out and as people are seeing, other departments are going to get impacted if we don't right this ship. And we're going to have to make difficult decisions for other departments that people care about, including public safety, and the senior center and other places that we have tried our best to keep intact. So I think as much as I would like to, build on the momentum, and I know we'll get a great turnout in November because of federal politics, I don't think we're ready. I don't think we have all of the pieces in place to put that out there to the community with confidence, with all of the information that's needed. Because ultimately, if we're doing all of this work and we're trying to do the messaging and we're trying to put the, grow the pie and all the things like Kobe says, well, then we have to be doing it together, and we have to, everybody has to completely understand where the money's going. The language in the, in the override itself has to be clear. Whether we do an MOU or not in the future, I think is kind of a whole nother discussion, because we heard from a lot of people that added to the confusion of things. I know it was our way of trying to show some good faith for future years of where the money would go, because there's no guarantees after year one, but I do think that kind of, ended up confusing some people when they eventually went to the ballot box. So, Mr. Chairman, I certainly in support of putting an override back on the ballot, but I don't think November is the right decision. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the chairman of the school committee. Mr. Kelly, so just so I have this right, your recommendation would be for the spring?
That's correct. Because right now, as you know, it's been mentioned plenty of times before, any money for an override, like I said, even if we just went and did it tomorrow, you're not seeing it for FY25. So the kids are still going to school with the setup that we left them with.
Okay. I'm agreeing with that, because if we do this right now for November, August is a dead month. Everybody's on vacation. Okay, so that leaves really.
Not Ted. Ted's on vacation now.
He already started the dead month.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so we have.
Sorry.
That's okay. We needed a little levity. So September and October is 8 weeks, and then the beginning of November is the vote. 8 weeks is not enough for any coalition to get this passed. I don't think so. And we're still, as Councilor Jones said, we don't even have a formal request yet. So we'd still probably not be able to get it in time to our town clerk. And, okay, so right now I would also vote towards a spring. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Pellegrini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Dave. So you think this spring is the best time to do this?
If you're looking at it from a,
I'm putting you on a spot.
yeah,
Last spring.
I think, yeah.
You're also speaking for yourself and not the.
I am, yeah. This is not coming from,
We get that.
from
From you, your
the school committee,
Your
yeah.
opinion.
In terms of a political, thing is, I think our friend in Italy had mentioned, that, it's certainly gonna get a higher turnout in November, than you were. We had a great turnout. In the last one, you will get a much higher turnout in November. But I don't, I personally, don't believe that there'll be enough time to kind of properly, build the number, any kind of of an MOU, of a strategy, of an explanation about the actual cuts that would be made if there's a failed override. Because obviously I've heard from a lot of individuals that said once they saw those 4 tiers, that if of the cuts that you guys had to look at, that if those 4 tiers were also were being presented 2 months ago, and we're told that some of this stuff is going to be on the chopping block, that the senior center might lose the LPN, that the archivist might be on the table, that if that was already out there,
would that have kind of made any changes? And so I think that's going to be incredibly important to be able to kind of communicate to the entire town that if there is a failed override, here's exactly where all of the cuts are going to come from, just to kind of plug up that $3 million hole. Regardless of anything else, just if we just want to keep exactly what we have, we still got to find $3 million in the budget, and where is that going to come from, and what cuts will that come from? If you have something in November, there's just, I personally don't believe there's enough time to kind of properly do that and communicate that. I do think having something in the springtime allows that joint budget to come together in the fall, to have those honest conversations and have those conversations in the public light, so that everybody is fully aware that if there's an override in the spring, that if it fails, here's exactly what's going to be happening. No kind of hypotheticals. No, it's just we got $3 million that we got to plug.
Exactly.
How many millions of that is coming from public safety, from the library, from the schools, and all over the place, so that everybody is fully aware and really kind of has, is a stakeholder in all of these decisions. But I do also, though, I think it is going to be incredibly important to make sure that even if we look at it from a springtime, that it's still done early through the budget season. I know, and again, and I know all of us, I think, are appreciative of all the additional funds that are kind of coming our way. But throughout this budget season, Lucas kind of prepared 4 different budget models of what the cuts would be, of level service plus, and even like a Thrive. Like we had all the, George from FinCom always talks about finding that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. He started building that budget. When the override failed, he kind of had to build a 5th budget. And then when we kind of had the additional allocation that came through on the 26th, again, it's great. It did save. It saved about a dozen teachers. But he had to build a 6th budget. And so I think if we're able to have an override early spring, it's going to put the school district in a better position, because he'll just be able to have one target where we'll know this is the budget that's going to come through if the override succeeds, and here's a budget if it doesn't. As opposed to, we had the school committee, when we kind of voted on the final budget after the June 26th meeting, it kind of got voted on and approved with, I think, about like 36 hours before the fiscal year actually closed. I can't imagine it getting too much tighter. And so I think kind of by having it sometime early spring, it's going to give everybody, yourselves included, plenty of time during the budget season to kind of properly figure out, all right, this is what we're going to do, and we know what the target is at that point, the funds we have available.
I'm certainly in favor of putting an override, but I tend to think that the momentum is high right now. And to wait until the springtime, I think putting it on the November ballot, when we have so many people that are going to be coming out with this presidential election, that is going to be the best time to have this. My opinion only, it doesn't seem like some of my counselors agree with that, but, and then I have a question through you to Mark. Councilor Jones said that it was up to the people to get the question together. They don't get the question together. The council does, with the cooperation certainly from
The
Jamie.
statute does not require that process to a variety of ways in which ultimately you have to take the vote to put it on the ballot.
Right.
That's your statutory function.
Jamie,
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think what Councilor Jones was referencing was you preferably, like Braintree and like other successful models, you work on this stuff for a year plus to lay the groundwork toward something so that you have broader support from the citizens more holistically. I think he was referentially saying citizens need to support an override overwhelmingly from various demographics and sub-demographics in town to try to support an override to give all of you and the school committee the kind of political support, if you will, to put something on the ballot. I don't think Councilor Jones was saying the citizens write the question necessarily. There are different questions that you can write. There's different ways to write them.
Exactly.
Each one has pros and cons to each style, and we can certainly go through all fall and explain the pros and cons of doing a question one way, doing a question another way. Some towns do multiple questions, right? You can have multiple questions, multiple budgets. I mean, there's a lot of different techniques. And as you said, Mr. Chairman, obviously, this year there was not a heck of a lot of time to really debate this,
Right.
in the time frame had. And I would just make a quick plug, and I know I've talked to Bob and John about this before. Working toward the spring, we need to actually get going now.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's going to be questions around the savings from redistricting. There's going to be assumptions that we're going to have to faithfully put into an agreement, and I just can't. I got to have a budget from the schools way earlier than we usually have gotten in the past. And I know that Lucas and Bob and everybody have done a great job trying to bring that up earlier. But I think from working backwards, mid-April is just too late. We need to see if we can get that, because all the town departments get me a budget in January, at least have some sort of model that we can really bank really solid numbers of what the needs are. We just need it earlier than what it comes in. I'm sorry, I know that might be a sensitive issue, and I'm not trying to be probing. I just think it has to get earlier than April, and I know that they've been focusing on that, but we have to get started like right now. We cannot wait till September, October, November, and I'm just warning everybody one last time, this stuff takes, and all of this education and all of these debates about how to write a question, if you have an MOU, you don't have an MOU, where does the money go, what does this department need, where do those cuts go? All of that is a full-time job, and it's gonna take a lot of time in the community to marinate those issues out. And so I would encourage us to really get moving probably right after Labor Day, if not earlier. I'd prefer even in August. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilor Pellegrini.
Some of my questions, that was
Yeah.
good, and I just wanted to put a plug out there that I think Lucas did a very good job as far as coming forward afterward, after he received this additional money, of what it was going to go to. Now, that will continue for the next school year, correct? I mean, you added some AP classes, you added music, you added bands, you added things like that, and that's gonna stay for the year, correct?
Added back.
Added
What's
back.
added back? Yeah, there were a number of things that I believe should be included in your agenda. The letter that came out,
Yes.
Yeah.
where the $1 million that
Where that
we're
goes.
kind of voting on later, there were a number of things. And now it did, he did kind of preface to kind of say that there's a caveat, like, we'll have to kind of invest, research a bit further on certain issues. Some of the other ones, I know that the theater program at the high school took a
Yeah.
big hit. They are working on trying to kind of pull that back in as an after-school program. But yeah, ultimately, everything that's in your packet, everything that's in that letter that had been sent out, that is, that's what we're looking to do with the funds. The school committee will have to kind of vote and approve everything once that $1 million does kind of get allocated over to us. But that's what's been presented is going to, I'm assuming it's going to be what's presented.
But you
moving forward.
already agreed upon the things that Lucas had said in his memo that he sent to everyone.
Yeah, you'll see in the memo, it is kind of broken up into, there was like 1.4 that was allocated from those tiered cuts into the actual operating budget. Those ones had been voted on. The $1 million was kind of included, but not counting the chickens before they hatch. It's there, it's out there. We're just hoping everything kind of comes through with $1 million, and then we got a meeting in August where we kind of finalize everything.
I just don't want to lose, and I'll use the word again, the momentum that everyone is working towards right now, by waiting, so.
I
Thank
get
you.
it.
That's
No,
okay.
absolutely. And everybody has done, in this community, has done a tremendous job. It's been years and years and years to kind of build up to this momentum. And I'm incredibly appreciative of all the work that has gone into it. I get that. I do
Okay.
respect that. I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor DeLorco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Momentum, I don't think we have momentum right now. I really don't. I think a lot of people would be very mad if we put it on in November. I think we'd get more no's. I think it would fail again if we put it in November, I do. I did say the same thing as Councilor Jones at the last meeting. If the yeses and nos don't come together and come up with something, it's gonna fail again. Let's be honest with you, it's gonna fail again. We don't have a good track record as far as getting overrides passed. Going back to, some of us have been here with Jeff Nutting. Jeff Nutting always said you needed, and Jamie hit it on the head, you need a year. We don't have a year, we got 7, 8 months, whatever we got. So, and that's why Jamie's saying we have to start now if we put it on in November. I mean, the phone calls we do get, I mean, I got a phone call today from a business owner. You know, he lives in town, he's got a business, he goes, I pay $25,000 a year in taxes, I'm not paying any more. So, you know, he just, Massachusetts is very, very expensive to live here. That's why 200,000 people.
What business was that?
I'm not gonna tell you, but,
It's expensive to
200,000 people moved out of Massachusetts last year. Young kids are moving out in groves because they can't afford it. I mean, it's a shame to see that, you know, it's so expensive to live here, but, you know, I mean, we have to do something, we have to come up with an idea, and like you said, Dave, I have to agree with you. If it is gonna pass, you have to show people what is gonna exactly be gone, and we don't have enough time in November. There's no way we have enough time. And you gotta work together, the community has to come together. If it doesn't come together, it's not gonna pass. I hate to be frank, but that's exactly what's gonna happen. And, but, yeah, that's why I'm in favor. If we put it on the ballot, it has to be April, before budget season.
Thank you, Councilor DeLarco. Is there,
You knew that was coming.
I did. Jane, please.
First off, give me a little grace, sis. I want us to make a quick statement before I read this. Before everything I'm about to say, I want to make it perfectly clear. I've been told to effing move. I've been told to F off. I have been sworn at, spit at, yelled at, because I hate the kids. I'm 3 generations into the school system, and I have a granddaughter that goes. I do not hate the school system at all. And since I am a product of that school system, it does mean something. People did vote against the election for some of the reasons mentioned, like they felt it was rushed, 150%. But the majority of the people that voted no was because they do not feel like there is a fiscal responsibility in spending. Example, Mr. Helen provided the 4 tiers of cuts. The first cut should have been to every employee that got above a COLA raise. First cut. Hiring freeze, second cut. Schools are going to be negotiating. Now, they got the 4% for the last 3 years. When they negotiate salaries this year, not above COLA. We're being told to dig and pull out of our pockets money that some of us just don't have.
Yeah.
Someone just messaged me and said 33% of all the increases that are coming around right now, that not even including an override, is 33% of their monthly income on fixed income. Yeah. How many food pantries do you guys go to every week to feed your children? How many times do you have to decide whether you're going to pay your electric bill or buy food or medication? It's not just the elderly. It is people on Social Security, disability. It's a lot of people. There are dual family households that have one income. Massachusetts is high. My property tax bill with the CPA is up $130 a quarter right now, and that's without an override. I haven't even gotten the water, the sewer, or the trash bill. We haven't even talked about the debt exclusions for a potential police station or the phosphorus plant. I'm on a fixed income. I can't afford this, and I've never claimed that I can. I've been yelled at and screamed at and labeled misinformation. My information comes from your budget. So when I did the salary increases on the 30 people, and I stated that last year we gave $400,000 in increases alone to 30 people. So what I did is I just went back and I took those same 30 people. If we had applied a 3% COLA raise to their salaries for FY '23 and '24, '24 and '25, we would have saved $850,000. Imagine if we placed a COLA raise of 3% on every salary of every employee in town for the last couple of years. I think might have hit a little over $1 million in savings. There are ways to save money, but the problem is we're not. I get the salary increase things, but I actually went through that a little bit. It's long, but in nowhere in it did it say, Franklin, you need to increase everybody's salary to the competitive rates right now. It could have been done in increments. You chose not to. You chose to approve it. Teachers' retention. I can hand this to you.
You can.
These are printed off. I did spreadsheets from Desi to you. So the first one, I just gotta make sure I give them to you in the order so I don't sound stupid when I'm talking. Okay, so the first one shows, I believe that is the retention in Franklin from 2009 till 2023, because 2024 I couldn't get off of Desi. We're basically staying about the same. State teacher to student ratio, I think that says 11-1. We're not off. We're incomparable with all the towns that Desi says we are in a comparative district. The next spreadsheet shows comparative salaries that only go up to, I believe it was 22 or 23. I don't think 24 is on there either. The total salaries for all of their teachers, the total students, the total faculty that they have, and guess what? We are comparative. Back before the 4% raises. Might have been a little lower than some, a little higher than others. And then the last one, I honestly can't even remember which one that was because I've been just looking at so many spreadsheets today. Oh, that is the in-district spending. So I'm almost done, and I know my time is up. Of all the comparative towns that Desi says is comparative to us in population and students, then I added 3 more that were local. I think it was Milford, Norfolk, and there's another one. We're competitive. We are. If teachers aren't staying, it's not necessarily because of that. It could be because they moved. It could be because they've retired. It could be because they're tired of dealing with children in the school system that they can't handle and don't have any way of doing it because all authority has been taken away. I know because I see the bullying that's going on in these schools. I had 2 kids that were fully bullied. I know, I'm sorry. Okay. You really need to raise this back up to 5. These 3 minutes are killing me. And my granddaughter came home from school in tears almost every day from the bullying, and nothing was done. So there's the problem. It's not the teacher salaries. It is the actual issues that are going on within our schools.
Okay.
She's right.
I just want to take a half a step back here, and I understand everything that Jane just said, but that's
Another issue.
kind of really not what we were looking to do with tonight's meeting. Tonight's meeting was to see if we had to cram something together to get something on a November ballot. And based upon what I heard from the council, the majority are not interested in trying to cram something together for November. Therefore, the comments and questions and concerns like Jane just brought forward, we'll have an opportunity to bring those forward as we start through the joint budget subcommittee. Those are the times for those discussions and those questions, and they will be answered, Jane. But that's the avenue in which they will be answered. Tonight, I was just trying to make sure we covered the bases if in fact there was a feeling from the majority of the council to put something on in November, and clearly I see that there is not. Therefore, we will start Go ahead.
Dancing now.
Go ahead, Mark. I'll give you, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Mercer. I just want to try to make a few comments that are relevant
Okay.
to the discussion
Perfect.
that you want to
Thank you.
have. Because I've taken a few notes tonight. I wanted to first share some comments that I made at the last school committee meeting, because I think it's important that I say the same things at both meetings. I appreciate that Jamie and his team came prepared during the last town council meeting with the multiple tiers of choices. It's really tough to make budget cuts. I appreciate that night teams worked together to identify some cuts. Although we only did the easy cuts. I have to say, I think we did the easy stuff because of course nobody wants to see more people lose their jobs, right? But we did the easy stuff. The school department did have to cause people to lose their jobs, 37 of them. So there were comments made about,
That's not true.
That's not true.
That's not the right number.
what's the number?
They restored 13.
No, no, no,
They restored 13, so that's down to 24,
I-
and a segment of those cuts were also from enrollment-based.
I'm not saying,
And- but
I'm not
just
saying
The
that,
school business administrators, but when you say 37, it's misleading just a
misleading
little,
to the
because some
community.
of those are restored.
I-
So we have to adjust the data point.
I understand,
Also,
I'm just saying the pain of laying off people
Absolutely.
was 37. Was it not?
37 pink slips.
37 pink
after-
slips.
on June
So
12th.
I'm just saying that
Okay.
I think the burden of sharing,
statement.
the burden of sharing the pain is not equally shared among departments. I don't know what the right answer is, but I think it's odd that we say we don't want people to lose their jobs when we've really requested that virtually all of the job losses comes from one side of the budget. You've all said, I shouldn't say you've all, I've heard many times counselors tonight say the pie is too small. I really think that message is something that I ask each of you to help convey. I realize that you are listening to people's comments. I also would ask you to lead and to explain what you believe the town needs to do as we prepare. I think Councilor Jones's suggestion of trying to get the two groups together is a good one, and we should do that. I would love also to know that we have a consistent message among the counselors and that you are sharing the need to grow the pie to those people who call you with suggestions and complaints. I don't know that we're there in terms of the council having one voice. I think that would help us prepare. I was a voice that was asking for a November vote to be put on the ballot in November. I'm certainly okay with delaying it if it means having a better chance of passing some number that will help this town survive the next few years. I would beg of you, as Jamie suggested, that we not waste any time, regardless of what date we target to go, that we start working on it now, because I totally agree. It takes a lot of time, and it's human nature to take a rest and a pause and then come back to it when it's probably too late. We all have to start working on it now. Thank you. That's most of what I wanted to say.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Okay. Please, name and address, please.
Maureen Sullivan, 871 King Street. This concerns the rainy day fund. That's $1 million that you're gonna vote on
But we're
tonight.
not talking about that now.
Okay, well,
That's
I
gonna
just
come up.
want to say, while you're moving all these funds around, Mr. Joe Evans was here, and he offered me $10,000 a month for rent that I have not gotten in 5 years because my building was destroyed by you not stopping someone with a liquor license. When don't roll your eyes at me, I went into your office, I have all the documentation. But let me just say that this rainy day fund, can we at least get maybe all these kids, this is what it's for. It's for music, talents, football, all these things. I am the last living resident, child of Franklin, to be raised and educated publicly in the Nathan Metcalf homestead. I have a wonderful education. I am an intelligent woman. So are all the other kids that grew up in the street with me, and we did not have $1 million worth of singing and dancing lessons. Can we please, if they're gonna take the rainy day fund that I desperately need but can no longer attach in this very short future, can we at least get them to come in here or go to the senior center and sing Singing in the Rain for us? Maybe they can put on a production.
Thank you, Maureen. Okay.
Please start taking me seriously.
Okay. Dave, please.
Appreciate everything that's, been going on and been said. It's not lessons, it's incredible enrichment that the schools are looking to do with the transfer from the stabilization fund. There's a lot of great programming that unfortunately was lost. And honestly, programming that oftentimes does go to outside the schools, but amazing programming like Councilor Sheridan mentioned that is looked at in college applications as well. It's so much more than what some of the comments were.
Understood.
Just incredible, taught by amazing teachers. Oftentimes some of the art programs are oftentimes run and managed by a board of students that are putting on incredible shows, but also getting amazing leadership opportunities as well. There's so much at stake with every tax dollar that we spend, and I'm always, what the superintendent, the business office kind of put forward and the way that they use and allocate every single tax dollar always provides just tremendous value both to our schools but to the greater community as well, to those beyond just families with young kids.
Thank you, Dave. Okay. Please, name and address.
Hi, Jenna Cohen, 14 Elm Street. So just wanted to reinforce a couple of things and encourage you perhaps to move to a different vote this evening. As we've heard, growing the pie isn't an option, not just because of the schools, but for other departments as well as we go into the next fiscal year. And we need to do that together. As Jane and others might know, people from the yes side and the no side are talking to each other and are engaging in civil discourse and are learning what it is that drives each of us to care about Franklin. And we need to do more of that, and we need to do that with you so that you can see that and hear that, and perhaps with some of your expertise too, in educating the public of what all of this stuff means, how it all works, because a lot of us don't know how town politic and how town finances work. Yet our families are on the hook for it on the other side of these votes. So I raise my hand to be part of that. I know there are others involved already in doing that, and I look forward to inviting you to those conversations and perhaps offering your time to share in conversation with us. We also need to build trust. If I look at the common denominator across the yes and no votes, there were many of yes votes who did it with a question mark of trust, that the money would be spent thoughtfully, that the money and the burden would be shared across departments. You have a lot of trust to build or rebuild amongst this community. People are ready and willing to be partners in it with you, but we need your leadership. And I believe that there are people across this town, forget about yes and no, Franklinites, who want to do this with you. So I would encourage you perhaps to demonstrate the commitment to growing this pie in partnership with the citizens, to move to a vote to ensure that an override is on a ballot in this fiscal year, so that we're not scrambling next June
or sending our kids to school, or our police to the streets with a smaller department, or the senior center with less staff and fewer hours, or the library closed. Commit to doing it now so that we can begin our work together now and get this thing done, grow the pie, and build a community that we can be proud of. Thank you.
Name and address, please.
Ken Ojuku, 73 South Street. I'm not gonna take a lot of time. Mr. Minichelli said a lot of the things that I had on my list, so I appreciate his efforts. But just to sum up quickly, we've heard it many times tonight and other nights. The pie is too small. We all know that. She brought up another good point, which is, at the end of the day, for this to work, we need all of us, and yes, that includes the town, but that also includes you, and we need your help in educating and getting people on this, on up to speed on what's on what we have at risk, what's actually at risk when they go in to vote. And to that end, one of the things that we heard, and I've said this before, is the fact that there was a lack of trust of what's going to happen, especially after the first year that the funds are available. And that's in part due to the fact that there is a lack of trust and understanding with how the split works today. So you talked about putting together a joint budget subcommittee again, which is great. I want to again suggest that we think about, as part of one of their tasks, evaluating the split of funds, whether it's 60-40, 70-30, it doesn't really matter.
That will all be part of it.
Right, so make sure that that is one of the items on the agenda, so we can actually put together something that works for the town, even if it's something that gets, reevaluated from time to time, but that's one of the ways to help to start to rebuild that trust. Finally, I'd like to end where she was headed, with a recommendation or an ask that we actually vote tonight to put something on, to agree to at least, to look into a ballot question for next fiscal year. So that's essentially, I think the one step we could make. It doesn't mean that this needs to happen, but we have to start doing the work. Let's do the analysis. Let's start to pull it together.
And I think we need to do that to start the process.
Right.
And I think you've heard from the council where the council's thoughts, processes are, meaning we're looking at the spring of next year to come up with to work towards putting a ballot question out there. Again, this needs to start. I 100% believe it needs to start at a joint budget subcommittee. Start that process there, start that process now, start those discussions. But we can't come to your house and bring you to those meetings. You need to come. And I'm not just saying you, but we went through this, we started with this process last year, and we had very little turnout.
Right.
So it's really up, and I applaud the efforts of our community. The last 4 or 5 council meetings, this place has been packed. Whether it's good, bad, doesn't matter. People are engaged and want to know what's going on and why it's going on. And that's right. That's what it should be. That's what we all should be doing. And I believe that I'll make a commitment to everybody here this evening that I will put together the joint budget subcommittee to start these discussions either at the end of August or the beginning of September at the latest. We will have the first meeting and start the process of putting together discussions as to how, what, when, where, and so forth. Council, all good with that?
I'm good with that, yeah. That's fine.
Okay. All right. I'm going to move off that item, and we will move to Actually, we'll go right to
yeah.
that piece of legislation, which is Resolution 24-50, Budget Stabilization Account Transfer to the Franklin Public Schools FY25 Operating Budget. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-50. This is an appropriation, budget stabilization account transfer to the Franklin Public Schools for FY25 operating budget. Total amount requested, $1 million. The purpose is to transfer from the Budget Stabilization Fund to the General Fund for FY25 and appropriate the Franklin Public Schools FY25 operating budget. Transfer to General Fund budget. The reason to transfer and appropriate to Department 300. The source is the Budget Stabilization Account in the amount of $1 million. Motion being moved and voted by the Town Council that the sum of $1 million be transferred from the Budget Stabilization Fund to the General Fund budget for FY25 and appropriated to the Franklin Public Schools FY25 operating budget. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move Resolution 24-50.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Nope, all set. I just wanted, just because there were questions that came up, the school superintendent did a great memo that came out a couple weeks ago. It was shared around in various formats. We included it in the packet, so if anybody has questions about exactly where the $1 million is going to go, they laid it right out here. I mean, as easy as you can. And I just want to commend, Lucas and Bob and the school committee and Jonna for doing what you've all heard me do a lot. When you restore cuts, or you're getting advocated against for like way more things than you can financially do, Lucas said this at his meeting, he tried to restore things in all areas of the district. And I think that that's really, really an important message that came out of the June 28th school committee, 27th school committee. And just, I think that that really is a approach that people in our position take. And you'll look in here and see 40,000 here, 30,000 there, 100,000 here. Personally, you've all heard me say this a lot. I'm alone on an island very often. I get a lot of requests to build sidewalks, streets, parks, schools, you name it. And it's really important to send signals, I think, to the entire district that when you're restoring things, everybody's getting a slice of that pie. And I just really want to commend them on that approach. That was really important, and it's a piece of feedback that I've gotten from a lot of people, that they felt assured. And they felt better that everybody was getting a slice of that money. And I thought that was a really good thing. So the list is in the packet, Mr. Chairman, if folks want to look at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. And I just wanted to, I just want everybody to understand, Superintendent Jaguar would have been here tonight, but he is away this week. So,
I'll do something.
Is it in?
well-deserved vacation, I'm sure. But otherwise, he would have been here, but I just wanted to explain why he isn't. Okay, questions or comments from the council? Councilor Pellegrini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to be sure that taking this $1 million out of the stabilization account is not going to hurt us in any way. What do we use the stabilization fund for?
For emergencies like this, it's the rainy
Okay.
day fund, and then number two, we use it for our bond rating agencies. I don't believe that this is going to have a significant impact, particularly in the marketplace, but as we talked about at the June 26th meeting, I think we're going to try to look at the free cash and go through the capital committee and see if we can get that amount back up.
Okay, and do we have a balance in here now?
We
Yes.
do. We have over, just a hair over $2 million left.
We still have?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that makes me feel good.
Good.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Jones?
Just to clarify, this is a one-time fund. This is a
Yeah.
one-time occurrence. This is not
Right.
recurring. Okay. Yep, just clarifications.
Councilor Frangillo, was that a half a hand?
My comment just happened to be the reverse of Councilor Pellegrini, so because she named hers, I would just name mine. This does hurt. These are losses. This does hamper our ability to protect ourselves from future situations. And because it can't be continuously tapped into, that means that it's $1 million of expenses in other places. Look at that full list. if we are here once again, that list is getting tapped into much deeper than it was this year. So, does this hurt? It hurts me.
Yes. Any other questions or comments from councilors? It does me as well, Councilor Frangillo. It was a question that, a concern that I had, and I always worry about the bond rating. That is something that just scares me to death when we're headed in the wrong direction. But I've been assured that doing this transfer will probably be okay. But going any further, digging any, what?
Call me later. Didn't know.
Yeah. Going any further would certainly concern me, digging any deeper into this.
That's why we only did $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, does Councilor Cormier-Ledger have his hand up?
Oh, can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Ted.
You're tired.
It's 4 in the morning.
Yeah, I don't even know what time it is here. That's why the limoncello is really good. I'll vote and then I'll sign off.
Okay, thank you. I didn't think he had his hand up. Okay, seeing no further discussion, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-50, a 2/3 majority votes required, and a roll call is required, so clerk will call the roll.
I'll start with Cormier Ledger.
Yeah, and good night.
Go to bed.
Good night.
Sheridan?
Yes.
Chandler?
Yes.
Frangillo?
Yes.
Pellegri?
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes,
9, I'm sorry, 8, 1 absent, sir.
motion carries. That's good for all, for sure. Thanks, Dave.
All right, hey, thank you all, really appreciate it.
Good luck.
We'll talk.
It's not like we're not gonna see you again.
Okay, zoning bylaw amendment 24-906, changes to subsection 185-3, definitions, mixed-use development definition. First reading, clerk will read the zoning bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is 907, all right? 906.
906.
Yep, I have them out of order. All right. Zoning bylaw amendment 24-906, changes to subsection 185-3, definitions, mixed-use development definitions, the zoning bylaw to amend chapter 185, section 3 of the Code of Town of Franklin, being enacted by the Franklin Town Council. The chapter 185 of the Code of Town of Franklin is hereby amended in section 185-3, definitions, by adding the following text. Subsection 185-3, definitions, mixed-use development, a development of a single parcel containing either more than one residential use or combination of non-residential residential uses. Uses allowed within a mixed-use development for specific zoning districts are detailed in use regulations, schedules part 1 through 7, see attachments 2 through 8. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 24-906 to a second reading.
Motion and a second, discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the next 3 votes relate to compliance with the MBTA communities. This is not the vote with the parking regulations in it, that's the second vote. But I just want everybody to know, these next 3 votes will get us in compliance with the MBTA communities law, which is very important. And if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. I know it's getting late, so I'm just trying to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie.
For the record, I don't need to take roll call. 'Cause he's-
Right, because he's gone.
He left.
Yeah. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move zoning bylaw amendment 24-906 to a second reading. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning bylaw amendment 24-907, changes to subsection 185-21, parking, loading, and driveway requirements. elimination of minimum parking requirements in downtown commercial zoning district. First reading.
It's 907R.
Oh, 907R, sorry.
The change was made at the last meeting.
Okay,
It's on the new agenda.
yep. Okay. Clerk will read the zoning bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 24-907R. Changes to subsection 185-21, parking, loading, and driveway requirements. The zoning bylaw amendment to chapter 185, section 21 of the Code of Town of Franklin. Being enacted by the Franklin Town Council at chapter 185 of the Code of Town of Franklin is hereby amended by the following deletions and/or additions to 185-21, parking, loading, and driving requirements, subsections A and B. B, parking, I'm going to just read what's changed.
A first,
I'm sorry?
1A, and then 1B.
Correct. That's correct. So subsections A, no, it's B first. Yeah, because I don't have,
B1A.
correct,
B.
that's what I just said.
Okay.
B first. Parking schedule, the number of parking spaces required for a particular use shall be as follows. This is 1A. Residential dwellings, which was formerly 1.5, is now 1 parking space per residential unit in a mixed-use development. And B1B, non-residential uses has been stricken that says 1 space per 500 square feet of gross floor area is now added, are exempt from this section, and that's referencing section 185-21B. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 24-907R to, this is the first reading, to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, this is the bylaw that is important just for the public's edification. This is the first reading. Second reading will be in August. We're eliminating the mandatory requirement for 500 per every 500 square feet of commercial industrial space. We're eliminating the need for on-site parking in downtown commercial only. And with the new parking lots open in downtown, there is plenty of parking. Most of it's free. And so that one change alone will get us into compliance with the MBTA Communities Law. In addition, this council made at least a great decision to trim the required 1.5 spaces required on site for a residential unit to 1. If we look at the zoning downtown commercial, everyone knows it's a really small district. So to get it down to 1 makes way more sense. And all of you agreed after a debate, which is why we had to put the R in the title. Just for the record, the planning board did have a hearing, and they recommended you stay at 1.5 spaces per residential unit in downtown commercial only. But the staff widely does not accept that recommendation. We fully support the 1 space per unit. It completely makes sense, and it will continue to make our case of MBTA compliance even that much more stronger. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor DeLorco.
So, excuse me, so commercial property, they don't need to have any parking?
In downtown commercial, they will not have to have any on-site parking. That's correct.
On-site?
Nope.
They never did though, right?
They had, it's a mandatory requirement of, for every 500 square feet of commercial industrial space in that zone,
Yeah.
was required to have one parking spot on site. So
Really?
think of like, think of like Little Shop of Olive
Doesn't
Oils.
make any sense.
So think of Depot Plaza as a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
All that parking space over on the right, there's a parking lot that we own right behind
Right behind it, yeah.
Customers can park there. That site would be much more useful with more space, but
Oh,
they're
okay.
required to have that whenever they got it permitted decades ago,
Yeah.
they're required to have that parking. So that's a great a parcel that will be able to be maximized at a much better level than what it is now.
Okay, all right, I just didn't understand it now.
I mean, at some point,
Councilor
Yeah.
Joe.
Sorry.
Yeah. No,
at
go
some
ahead.
point,
No.
there wasn't, obviously, right, like Bamboo House, or.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah. Right, okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move zoning bylaw amendment 24-907R to a second reading. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning bylaw amendment 24-913, zoning map changes from business to commercial 1, an area on Union Street near Franklin Crossing, first reading.
Nope, 908, sir.
908.
Yes.
Zoning bylaw, mixed-use development.
Oh, the mixed use.
MBTA.
Yeah, it was, okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, zoning bylaw amendment, 24-908, subsection 185, attachment 7, part 6, addition of mixed-use development to use regulation schedule, first reading. Clerk will read the zoning bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 24-908. Zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code at Chapter 185, Attachment 7, Part 6, use regulation schedule for residential uses. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 185, the Code of Town of Franklin is hereby amended by the following additions to Section 185, Attachment 7, Part 6, use regulation schedule, residential uses, multifamily or apartment. So the change on attachment 185 attachment 7, use regulation schedule is under 6.1C. And you could reflect, the changes are reflected in the schedule. There are no other changes on that list. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 24-908 to a second reading. I was getting mixed up with that, too.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion.
This is just the compliance table with what y'all just voted
Yeah.
on.
Any questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve zoning bylaw amendment 24-908. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning bylaw amendment 24-913, zoning map changes from business to commercial 1, an area on Union Street near Franklin Crossing. First reading. Clerk will read the zoning bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 24-913. Zoning map changes from business to commercial 1, an area on Union Street near Franklin Crossing. The zoning bylaw amendment to the Code of Town of Franklin at Chapter 185, Section 5 zoning map. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that the Code of Town of Franklin is hereby amended by making the following amendments to 185-5 zoning map. By changing from business to commercial 1, an area containing 5.369 plus or minus acres comprising of the following parcel of land as shown in the Town of Franklin's assessor's map, parcel number 287074000. The area to be rezoned is shown in the attached map. Proposed zoning map changes in the area near Franklin Crossing. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 24-913 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is the, this was unanimously endorsed by the planning board, so everybody agrees on this one, which is great news. This is for the Union Street zoning for around the mill store area. And a really exciting project and a really exciting opportunity for the town to develop a lot more housing right in the urban core. So this would be the first reading on that, and hopefully all the second reading, if approved tonight, next month.
Oh, good.
Great. Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council?
Good one.
Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 24-913 to a second reading. Again, a majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 24-42, authorization for town to implement Chapter 193 of Legislative Acts of 2018 landfill land swap legislation, so-called. Clerk will read the resolution. We're waiting, we've been waiting a long time for this one.
As long as we've been on.
Yeah.
Is this legit legalese?
Motion to waive the reading.
I haven't even started yet.
Second.
Motion and second to waive the reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bobby?
Oh, shoot. Move resolution 24-42.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Yeah.
Discussion. Jamie?
Historic night on this vote. No one
Yeah.
else will know anything about it. But this is a 11 or 12 year long project.
Yeah.
Of a land swap with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Everybody wants to know what we do in our free time. We work through 7 state agencies to get this done. In all seriousness, though, this is a huge moment because, and I wish Councilor Hamlin in particular was here tonight, because she's been a big advocate for the recycling center for many years. What this will do is allow us to finally record the deeds to give the state the 20-plus acres of land next to the state forest to add to the state forest that was town-owned land in exchange for the polluted land that the town polluted decades and decades and decades ago right next to the Beaver Street Recycling Center up on the hill there.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna be required, and I gotta give a shout out to Jeff Nutting, in the sense that you could have waited forever to do this. Eventually it would catch up to the town. But Jeff's vision was to take ownership of the problem, line the trash facility the town used decades ago, properly make sure it's sustainable for the future, and use it as an opportunity to hopefully someday build a state-of-the-art recycling center down there, way down the road. There's a lot of work called the Solid Waste Master Plan that all of you are excited about doing, in town that we have to do between now and then. But really, this is a huge amount of work, and I just give thank you to Mark for all of his efforts, and Brutus and the DPW and everybody. And this is a huge moment. So it's finally getting done, folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Jones?
Mr. Chairman, there are certain things in my existence on this council that
You
seem
see-
like just take forever, New Style being one of them, obviously. Several other things, but I think Jeff Roy was actually on the council at the time
When you started
when we started this
He
process.
was.
Yes,
He
he
was.
was.
And it's funny because this has been going through the state, with the state, talking about this land swap for over 11 years, and it's finally happening. It's like, thank God. But I'm happy this is in front of us tonight, sir, and this is nice to see, put the nail in this coffin.
Yeah, for sure. Councilor DeLarco?
I just want to say, I hope Jeff Nutting is watching because he really did a lot of work for this too, so.
hell has frozen over.
You can finally rest.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-42, a two-thirds majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
8-1 absent, sir.
Resolution 24-40,
Oh, sorry, 2 absent. 7-2, sorry.
Yeah,
My
7-2.
apologies. Yep.
Resolution 24-49, acceptance of gifts. Veteran Services Department, $700, Senior Center, $381, Franklin Public Library, $500. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-49, acceptance of gifts, Veteran Services Department, Senior Center, and Franklin Public Library. Whereas the Veteran Services Department, Senior Center, and Franklin Public Library have received generous donations in the total amount of $1,581 to be used at the discretion of each department as follows. Donation summary, Veteran Services Department, $700. Gift fund, $600. Franklin Municipal Veterans Assistance Fund, $100. Donations to be used at the discretion of the Veteran Services Department through the Veterans Gift Fund and the Franklin Municipal Veterans Assistance Fund in support of local veterans, yay, and their families. Senior Center, $381. Donations to be applied at the discretion of the Senior Center through the Council on Aging Gift Fund to provide services and programs to senior citizens in Franklin community. Franklin Public Library, $500. Donation to be used for children's programs at the discretion of the library director and children's librarian. The list of all donors is scheduled in the 7/17/2024 Town Council meeting agenda packet. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Council, Town of Franklin, on behalf of the Veteran Services Department, Senior Center, and the Franklin Public Library. Gratefully accept these generous donations to be used at the discretion of each department for the purposes noted above. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-49.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, just,
Well,
Yes,
other
thank
than
you.
the fact that the aforementioned Mr. Nutting is on that list, I
Yeah.
have to point that out. Thank you. Shout out to the library folks still in the back row over here. Jeff, thank you, and thank you for everybody on that list for their incredible donations. It's great to see Jeff's name on the list.
great. Thank you. Any other
Allie's
comments?
blushing in the back. She's-
Yeah. Okay, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-49. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, one and all, to everybody who continues to donate to our different departments and help us keep this ship going forward. Okay, Town Administrator report.
All right, so Mr. Chairman, based on the comments made earlier, I've got a few items I'm just going to try to clarify. The first thing I wanted to announce really quickly, tonight is the last night that all of you are going to be in this chamber, and it's going to look the way it looks. So Pete is already here. Tomorrow, the municipal building renovation project of this building that we started years and years and years ago is finally going to start tonight at midnight. And this room in particular is going to be off limits for probably the next 3 or 4 weeks or so. We've communicated to all the departments, to all the boards and committees. It should be ready in time for your middle August meeting. And then on the 3rd floor, all the way down to the 1st floor, they're going 3rd floor, 2nd floor, 1st floor, throughout the entire building with new carpets, with paint. If anybody's curious what the rest of the building will look like, visit the town clerk's office, because somehow the town clerk got her office done first about a couple years ago. And so for all of you that have been in here for 20 years, this month is when the schools and the town organization all came into one building. And I know, Mr. Chairman, you speak about this often. Speaking of Mr. Nutting again and his legacy, still probably one of the best decisions the town of Franklin probably ever made.
Absolutely.
There's very, very few communities in the state, if any, that I'm aware of where the entire organizations are together in one building. And we talk about budgets. Well, I can tell you right now, and you know this too, if we had not done this, and all the other reforms that you guys did years ago with Mike D'Angelo and everybody, your taxes would be a lot higher. Your organization would be less efficient, and there would be huge cost explosions from all of that. So those were financially advantageous decisions. 20th anniversary this month of coming into this building, and we're doing a whole new remodel. So I hope everybody takes a moment to accept the beige and remember the beige, because it'll be a bluish gray next time. And we'll have a new, the rostrum is going to stay, all of this is going to stay. Pete and Franklin TV have committed to doing and enhancing the wiring underneath, so there's going to be a lot of work here. Please pardon our appearance for the next 2 or 3 months. It's just going to take a little while to get through the whole building. But as everybody goes through, if you walk through now, there's boxes everywhere. We're packing up our stuff. And we're going to be putting out announcements on this stuff, but I wanted to make sure tonight I let everybody know that tonight at midnight, the project officially starts, and this room is the first room that's going to get done.
So it's not true that Amy's chosen color was purple?
It's not. That was my color. I had chosen purple and got rejected
Just
by
wanted
the
to
whole
make sure.
staff. I put blue, yellow. I was going to do lots of colors, and they said no, we want gray. And I got outvoted 20-1. So I was the only one in favor of color. But the other thing, Mr. Chairman, just as some of the comments earlier, I know Mr. Bailey's still here. If you go back and look at the June 5th council meeting, I gave an extensive update on the 835 Upper Union Street, but just some highlights really quickly, just for the public's edification again. On June 5th, first of all, the town of Franklin has not spent a penny of local tax dollars on this issue. Out of the budget stuff we were just talking about in the operating budget, we have not spent any money, $0. The schools, as we announced a few weeks ago, have been reimbursed about $600,000 so far. The legislature made the financial commitment for the educational pieces of that, and I think we got a report from the school business administrator some time ago. I did announce a month ago too, I know to the joy of many, that the hotel tax share that we were expected to get was fully fulfilled. So that revenue obligation was there. And most importantly, a couple things, Commonwealth Care Corporation, I think is the name.
Commonwealth Care.
It's really important that people understand, and I know I say it all the time, but it just begs to differ. The state of Massachusetts is running this issue. The local government has no say in this. We have no control over this. You know, and I think our local volunteers, our department heads, our staff, our local organizations, the Safe Coalition, the Interfaith Coalition, Food Pantry, you know, the Federated Church. I mean, I know I missed a few, on and on and on. You know, did a great job spending their own time and triaging within their organizations how to work those issues out over at that hotel. We've had very, very few issues. Our public safety officials have done a great job. No one's come to me and said that there's an issue that they feel like I need to run up the flagpole up to the governor. I see the lieutenant governor and the local advisory council group once a month. I sit right next to her. If there was an issue that was coming across that somebody had, I would certainly relay that when I have my chance, but there's been no need to do that. So we kind of closed the loop on that a little while ago, and I just wanted to make sure folks were aware of all those issues. And finally, you know, on a couple of the other comments relative to liquor licenses and development, just for transparency, I've never heard of these things. These stories are not true, which leads me to kind of a couple of grants that we've gotten. But before I get to that, you know, going through the override debate and going through the discussion tonight and all the issues, you know, I agree with the council's decision. There's a really, really big problem right now with information in Franklin. And there's a very, very big problem with misinformation, manipulated information, and just made up information. And tonight we heard some of that, of just allegations and stories that aren't true. And it's very, very hard and challenging these days to be able to confront those issues so that the public has the right information and has the truth. And as we move forward, and this is why I say we have to move quickly and soon, because that issue is going to grow, it is going to get more, and if a successful override is to be contemplated, there needs to be ample time to make sure the public is well aware of what's right and what's wrong. Because the issue I hear right now is when people are in this chamber and they're hearing all of you and Lucas and myself and the schools and stuff, people always shake my hand, they compliment us, they go, the information was there, it was on the screen, and then something happens when we go out of this meeting and go back out into the public, and just somewhere this information comes out of nowhere that people allege that are that's really, really untrue. And I don't fully know how to confront that, but I just know it is a big, big problem that we as a group have to contemplate as we move forward on policy. So. And finally, to leave off on a couple grants, shout out to Sarah. Senior Center just got awarded $10,000 caregiver respite services and financial aid grant and $7,000 for Senior Center modernization. So $17,000 to the Senior Center. Congratulations, Sarah. And just to let you know what you're aiming for, that is a huge amount of money for the Senior Center, by the way. But Chief McLaughlin already left. And he gave me a heads up yesterday that the fire department is being awarded a $565,000 grant from the federal government at FEMA for workplace training, facility development, and a bunch of safety mechanisms at the fire station. That's $2.7 million in less than 5 years from that department, and that's all being done by the actual rank and file paramedics themselves as part of that committee. That is a surreal amount of money, and I even said to Jim, I don't even know what to say anymore. It's huge. So congratulations to Sarah, congratulations to Jim, and thank you to the rest of the staff for their amazing work. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing my
Thank you.
You now know where you've got to aim towards, girl.
Okay, subcommittee reports. Capital hasn't met. EDC has met. Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, EDC
EDC met right before this meeting, and we got an update on the marketing and branding initiatives that are getting launched, and some really exciting news. So a reminder that our state legislators got us state funding for this, so this is not coming out of the budget, and we are doing it in 2 phases. The first phase, we're hoping, right now, the plan is a pretty aggressive timeline to get it done by November, which is to have a new logo, tagline, and a branding package. The second phase would then be the marketing materials and the wayfinding materials that would come out of that.
Both those phases are funded by the grants, correct?
Currently, the plan is to fund both of those by grants. We'll see as quotes come in, but
Yeah. Super, thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Budget Subcommittee has not met. Master Plan, Councilor Jones.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The master plan had its public hearing last week to get the public's input in regards to the goals that we submitted to the public for review, as well as got their feedback. We've taken that feedback. We will be using it next week to start the implementation portion of the master plan process. That will be next Wednesday, the 24th at 6:30 p.m. We have a long way to go and a short time to get there, but we are on track.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Police Station Building Committee has not met, but I'll take this spot just to correct an assumption that may or may not be out there, and that is that the new police station's going at Parliament School. There has not been a meeting of the Police Station Building Committee. We just, in fact, have contracted with our project manager. And the first job of the project manager will begin to look at sites. Is Parmenter School a site that will be looked at? Yes. Is it the site that's been picked? Absolutely, 100% no. So I want to clear that up totally so that there's no question from anybody in the community. That decision has not been made. Okay, with that, Gatra. Oh, David Stair, I'm sorry, David Stair.
Wow, I accept your apology. We all kind of.
I apologize, Councilor Blake.
Okay, and we did have a meeting.
Yes.
Because we had to approve the minutes of all of our meetings. So the secretary was very good to get them all together. We approved them all tonight, so now we are fine and dandy, and people can go online and they can see the minutes, and they've been accepted.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Gatra.
Advisory board has not met, but myself as the community liaison, town administrator Helen and Representative Roy will be meeting with the GATRA administrator and her team tomorrow to talk about potential improvements. So look forward to reporting back on some of the conversations.
We'll look forward to hearing it. Jamie, since we're on subcommittee reports, minutes and stuff, did you want to comment on minutes going forward?
Sure.
Please, so that.
Yeah, so we've had, I understand there's some concern about minutes, and I agree. What we've done is we've been working on this actually for a while. A company called us, it's called InstaTrack, and they do work up in the legislature. They have a new, they called me a long time ago, but as all of you know, actually it's not the secretary who does the minutes, it's actually Amy and myself. And so we do them in our spare time, including Davis there and all the other stuff. Alicia did some, through all the staffing changes through the pandemic, we triage the best we can. We know we have a few committees left to be done. But what we've done is we've finally gotten in touch with the company again. There's going to be 6 communities piloting a new software from AI that is based off InstaTrack that is going to basically go through and prepare like basically just one large document of data, and then for $100 per meeting, we're going to have somebody that you can offer in that service basically transcribe that and coil it down into a set of minutes. So, Judith Lizardi does the best minutes I've ever seen in my life. She's done them for us for years. She won't do them forever. And so actually the software package is something that we're looking for across the board. I just want to give a shout out to George Conley real quick because I know he's listening. And I want George to know the Finance Committee is on our list so that Nicole and the rest of the committee does not have to do minutes any longer. We're also looking at the EDC because they have a lot of meetings. Police Station Building Committee, Joint Budget Subcommittee, and we are able to do the backlog. So we'll have a proposal, to clean up some of those. I'm going to still do some of them. Amy's going to still do some of them in the meantime. But it looks like we're going to be able to get a software package to be able to handle minutes going forward. So that's really good news because unfortunately, though, this is going to get expensive, just like newspaper ads.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, yes, paper minutes work. I understand. But when I talk to our colleagues all over the place, this is another one of those issues someday, we've got to kind of transition. I don't know when the right moment is, but it's like newspaper ads. We've set up a free service. I don't know why that doesn't suffice. This is going to be the same thing. We're talking with the schools and us, we're talking 6 digits here.
Yeah.
This is over $100,000 a year towards doing minutes. And we heard about the budget constraints. So if we want to talk about fiscal responsibility, maybe the legislature, when Rep. Roy's here in a couple months, we can talk about some of these issues that I think are facing communities about how to save money, because every meeting is on YouTube and it's out there. And I've, had very, very few requests. Obviously, the one individual here that's had asked them, but I've had very few requests for anything in writing because people just go online and they watch the meetings. And Franklin TV, also shout out, does an amazing job broadcasting these all the time. So we're gonna do it, Chris. We're gonna get it done, boss.
Okay, thank you. Future agenda items. Councilor Chandler.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Pellegrini.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Sheridan.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Frangillo.
This time.
Councilor Jones.
Facilities report, just the status, because we used to get reports on
Quarterly, yeah. And we'll get that on.
Okay.
Councilor DeLarco.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, councilor comments. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. First, I just want to give a shout out to Jamie, Amy, and Brutus. I was lucky enough to be involved with them. I don't know if you remember that woman, Kelly from Shady Lane with her autistic child.
Yeah.
Well, the sign went up today. The autistic. So you guys, everybody did a great job with that. Thank you for the other counselors that got involved in that. So that was a good feeling story today that was up. So that was great. And just to clear the air a little bit, anyone that thinks that I did not know that the police and fire got a raise, that's not true. And what I meant by they get nothing, for me to say that out loud right now would not be productive. It would not bring us together or anything like that. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Pellegrini.
Thank you. I don't have much other than the 4th of July celebration to thank the committee and the chairman. They did a wonderful job, and I'm just happy to see that it's going on. That's year after year, and we have these people that have come forward and have done a wonderful job. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor Sheridan. Councilor Frangillo.
Just a reminder that office hours, town council
Tomorrow,
office hours are tomorrow at the senior center.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Jones.
Let's not forget the awesome fireworks. That
Well,
was a
that's
great
what you want for a
spectacular this year. So, it was a good show. And everyone stay cool.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor DeLarco.
No, 4th of July, that's it. But, no, let's just calm it down a little bit.
Yeah. And I think, my only comment will be, first and foremost, thank the 4th of July Committee for another great celebration, great fireworks, the whole bit. They did a great job. And I think it's important for us now, as we move away from the failed override and we
Let it go.
move forward, we need to move forward as a community. And we have to stop this schools, municipal. That stuff has to stop. If we're going to move forward, working together for the common goal of making it a better community, the only way to do that is to do it as a group and as one. And I think starting this process of looking at an override in the future, or the need for an override in the future, an amount and time, starting with the Joint Budget Subcommittee, starts the three finance groups of the community, puts them together to start those conversations. Thank you to the community for continuing to come out and have their voices heard, be it pro, be it con, doesn't matter. We want to hear, we need to hear, and we should hear from everyone. And that will begin with the Joint Budget Subcommittee, and that announcement of a date will come out in the next week, I promise you that. So, again, I just want to stop this schools municipal piece. We are one town. We are Franklin. And we need to work together as a community to make us better and to continue to have us move forward. Enough said. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?